stuff.
So,
I was right.
sounds good.
All right.
Tell you that it's 6:00.
I'm looking at their clock, so I'm not sure which I should go by.
Okay. But I'll have a chance. Worst part is anything she replaces. Anything she replaces, I know what was there.
If you have notes anyway.
And then I'll keep mine for you.
I didn't have notes so much, but I'm just afraid that if all of a sudden, like, I get into something that's like information changed, I'm in trouble.
Hopefully he didn't write any notes.
Yeah,
I hope you didn't write any notes.
Did you write any notes in yours?
I did not have any
Okay,
notes.
good.
Is there anything major that changed from what I read before?
No, I think you got one additional piece, which was on the tobacco summary and the affidavit on the
Okay, so-
tobacco. Just the first hearing part.
Okay, first hearing part.
Backup material, that's for.
Is it the?
You got that.
Okay. That's
And
what-
then, yep.
Okay. And then I have the, okay, sounds
That
good.
should have been the only thing added to yours.
Okay. Is this the new one? Okay.
Yes.
That's my complete package.
Can use this to hold this down. Okay, I think that at this point,
What's that?
I think by all clocks, everyone.
By all
have-
clocks,
So we're good.
6:03 on my laptop.
Yes. All three members are present. Therefore, I'd like to call this Board of Health meeting not to order just yet, but on August 12th, I guess I have to read the fact that we're doing this a live broadcast. This is a hybrid meeting, will be held in person and via Zoom. Members of the public may attend the meeting in person or watch live on livechelmsfordtv.org or Chelmsford TV YouTube channel or Comcast 6 Verizon channel 37. Members of the public will only be granted Zoom access to accommodate participation in public input and public hearing portions of the agenda. Zoom access will be denied for those wanting only to view the meeting. The Zoom will be shut down once no longer needed. If participating in the meeting virtually, please join the meeting 10 minutes early to allow for screening. So, as I said, I'd like to call this meeting to order. All board members are present. And I guess the first, if we're on as we're supposed to be, that I would like to call the public input. Is there any public input through Zoom or in-house? Okay. To basically talk about any other project other than the two hearings right now. Is there any public input for anything other than the two hearings that are coming up? All right.
Is anybody online?
online that has anything, just
Nope,
town council? Okay,
correct.
all right, so,
Motion to close public input?
okay. do I have a
Seconded.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. All right, so our first hearing tonight is 95 Chelmsford Street.
Do you want me to?
Yes, go
Do we
ahead.
have somebody here for 95 Chelmsford Street? Okay, you want to come to the podium? Yes, please. So I'll start off and just kind of share what I have here, and then you can have the floor. So he's requested a hearing for a violation that he has received, and a tobacco control visit to his facility. I'm going to read the summary. Ron Beauregard, who's our tobacco control inspector, is not able to be here this evening, so he sent me the summary, and I will read that. On August 1st, 2024, at approximately 11:14 a.m., a male 20-year-old underage purchaser, under my supervision, entered the Chelmsford Mobile Mart, 95 Chelmsford Street, Chelmsford, Mass., attempting to purchase a package of vape pods. This visit, known as a compliance check, is performed as part of the Town of Chelmsford's contract with the Massachusetts Tobacco Control Cessation Program. I had parked my car in the vicinity of the Chelmsford Mobile Mart and could see him enter the store. The underage purchaser was not carrying anything into the store besides the cash I had provided to him and his cell phone. He did not have an ID. The underage purchaser was directed by me. The underage purchaser entered the store with $40 in cash to make this purchase. He asked the female clerk for Julu buds. The clerk then asked the underage purchaser for his ID. When the underage purchaser indicated he did not have an ID, the clerk asked for his birth date. The underage purchaser replied that he was 20 years old. In response, the clerk asked for a birth date, and that birthday confirmed that the underage purchaser was under the age of 21. The clerk proceeded to sell a Jewel Virginia tobacco package containing 4 vape pods. The underage purchaser gave the clerk $40 and received $8. $14 in charge for a total purchase price of $31.86. He returned to the car, which I drove him. The clerk proceeded to sell Jewel Virginia tobacco package containing 4 vape pods.
Yeah.
After entering the data concerning this compliance check into my phone's database application, I drafted a correction order detailing the events that occurred. Within approximately 10 to 15 minutes after the sale, I entered the store myself and met with the clerk, explaining what had transpired, and handed her the correction order. She had indicated during that discussion that she thought the legal age to purchase tobacco and vape products was 18 years of age, and apologized for the mistake. She asked if I could simply not issue the correction order, but I indicated it was my responsibility to issue the order. You'll see the order that was handed to him, handed to her, the employee, and then also the written order that was written for Ron to them. You also have the person that signed. It is redacted the underage purchaser's name on there, but the signed order, and then a picture of what was actually purchased. And then also our tobacco regulation in there. So tonight, we'll let him kind of share and take the floor, but just so that you know that the board's decision is either to uphold this violation or to remove the violation. The fine amount is a state mandate amount, so we cannot change the amount of the violation. We can just, you as a board, can just choose to revoke the violation or uphold the violation fee. With that, we'll turn the floor to you.
See the employee that I had there, she's been there for like almost a week. She just started working there for like a week, and obviously we give her the instructions how could she handle this kind of situations if regarding the vape or the cigarettes or anything like that. But unfortunately, it's the first time, and she couldn't really handle it that well. And there's a language barrier there. She couldn't really communicate with the customer himself. She thought that she heard that the date that he gave it to her that was over 21. She just got all confused with the whole situation. For the vape itself, sexual, but wouldn't sell that much. It's not like a huge sellers. It's not anymore like what it used to before. So the fine itself, it's just too much versus the sales or the. I'm not just justifying that, but I'm saying it's a mistake from the clerk. She couldn't handle the situation right, but it happened. So I'm asking from you guys just to could just remove that. Or I thought the beginning would be a warning, but I didn't know that like $1,000 fine, like the cigarettes thing, like to give you a warning at the beginning. So hopefully that's what I could get from you guys.
Yeah, the violation fines themselves are, like I said, set by the state.
Yeah, I
It's a state
understand. Yeah,
statute, so-
I thought there'd be like a warning first, and then we'll go like like the cigarettes does, but that's not the case with the e-cigarettes thing.
I guess the first question is, do you have a copy of the reg? The tobacco reg?
Yeah.
Did you, before, I'm not talking about at this point.
Yeah, no,
You never had it?
never had on electronic cigarettes at all, and nothing. That's the first time happening to me. On
No,
e-cigarettes.
no. I'm just saying is that as a proprietor of a place that sells certain products, do you, to get a permit and license or whatever, did you bother to get a copy of the regulations that exist on the
Oh yeah,
tobacco
I-
products? So you do have them?
I do. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, all right, okay. Because I remember one thing that seemed to be what I call a good little item to always have is that because of the 21, okay, you always, there's kind of a cheat sheet where basically you don't have to do the math in your head. You sit there and say, okay, here's the dates, okay, and this is what would be if there were 21 kind of thing. And therefore you don't have to do the math, okay, to sit there and say, it's just, oh, there it is.
Look at the. I
And-
understand. Yeah.
Do you
See-
have one of those?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
You do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have the one next to the register? It shows you the date and all that. It
Okay.
moves automatically
Okay.
from the date to
Alright.
the next date.
Okay.
But as I said, she's just been only there for a week. As language barrier, she can really, she shouldn't. I mean, once he told her that there's no ID, she shouldn't really sell her. Period. Right away. But she hasn't been in that situation. She thought it would be okay. Only a week. So
Yeah, I could just. A little
What I'm
bit.
asking-
So,
what-
yeah, so the actual permit holder responsibilities is that everybody is trained in the store on exactly what needs to happen, right? How many, this is just one person that happened to go in to do that. If she wasn't trained appropriately, how many other scenarios
She
could that
has,
have happened
actually.
in the week that she was working there?
no, she has, and as I said, there's not that much business on the vape and the e-cigarettes like before, though. It's really dead. So if he pays just a fine $1,000 versus, I just looked at the numbers. The last couple of months, I only did sales like $200 just from on whole June and July, the whole 2 months, just sales on e-cigarettes and vape, which is I'm not doing that much. Versus the fine that if it happened or accurate, that would be $1,000. It's not really. Oh, what I'm asking is just a break this time, and hopefully that won't happen again. And I'm gonna work on it. That won't happen again, because if I'm there all the time, which is I am, that never happens. But unfortunately, she's there, and she's only been there for a week, and she hasn't got the experience to get the IDs, because we don't really do that much of sales on e-cigarettes and vape at all.
Anything from the other?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
One of the problems we ran into when we faced these before.
Yeah.
Can people hear me now? So one of the problems we faced in the past is that there's actually two parts to our regulation. And the second part is Chelmsford, and those are our numbers at our discretion. I thought that the problem with the first part was that was the state, that there wasn't a lot of latitude for us to change anything there in terms of the amounts, or if we determined a violation occurred. We can occur, if we determined that a violation did not occur, that's different.
Correct.
And so that the problem is it doesn't give us a lot of latitude to play there. Am I wrong?
Yeah, that's
or-
correct. The state doesn't give us latitude to change any of the violation fee amount. It's just if the board chooses that there was not a violation that occurred, then you can revoke it and take away the fee.
But if a
Violation
violation
occurred.
occurred, if something happens and this is something that we determined that it did not happen.
Correct.
But if we determine that it did happen, I thought the problem with this regulation is the first part, the state part, we don't have discretion on that.
Correct. Correct. On the dollar amount, we do not have a discretion on the amount of the ticket. The ticket is what it is.
Right.
And the only thing that he would be here for a hearing
Just to
is
remove
trying
it.
to say that it didn't occur, or
No, it
whatever
did
it is that you feel, the only way you can revoke it is if you feel that
It did not occur.
it did not occur.
Right, that, the problem with the regulation is that the state part, if it did occur, we don't have discretion.
Right.
If it didn't occur, the sale didn't happen, and there was a misunderstanding or something, we can rule on that.
Well,
And so it ties our hands.
Well, it did happen. I'm not saying that it didn't happen. It did
Yeah.
happen, but there's, as I said, it's not experienced employee that I have,
Right.
and what I'm asking, I don't know if you guys have the right to remove the fine as is right now, and if it did happen,
And-
the
and the-
next time we'll go from there.
And the problem is the way the state deals with that
Yeah.
is it says that it's not the responsibility of the clerk. It's whoever holds the permit.
I understand.
And so that ultimately, if an event occurred, if an event didn't occur, and so we can determine that,
Right.
it gives us the option to say that didn't happen.
Right.
But if the event occurred, this portion, the Massachusetts, the state portion, says that the permit holder is responsible, and we don't have discretion about changing the amount from 1,000 to 0. The only thing we can really rule is that this never occurred.
But you guys have the right to remove the fine, right?
Not specifically,
Not
no.
the state portion.
No.
We can rule that this never occurred,
Oh, yeah.
but if it occurred, then the state says this part of our statute
Right.
is the state statute.
Right.
And the state says, if it occurred, this is the amount. We can't, if we rule that this happened, we can't change it from 1,000 to 0 then.
Right.
It says that it's $1,000 for the first offense, 2,000, and it's not just for the vaping, it's also for cigarettes and everything else. So that,
Yeah, and this state statute part of it, and this regulation was just updated October 4th, 2021.
Correct.
And every facility in Chelmsford that sells tobacco and vaping products received a copy
Right.
of this, and that was the change in that particular time, was the state statute.
so.
David, anything?
Well, there is, in the code here, there's no mention of warning letters or anything of that nature, so that's not an option to us, because I don't think that's to us. It's, as Dr. Meikle stated, it's like, did it happen? Yes, no, or no, and it appears to be a yes, and we don't have the authority to issue a warning letter as requested.
Yeah, I'm not denying that it didn't happen. It did happen, but I'm saying that there's some elements that needs to be taken in consideration. The sales of the product itself, it's not that big. I know it doesn't have to do anything with the fine or with or whatever happened, but it's whatever that with the business itself right now, which is it's not really that good, and if you pay the fine $1,000, it's you know it's not worth it. That's what I'm trying to say, you know.
Yeah. Do you believe that it was because of the vaping that she made the mistake, or because of the age? Because what I'm saying is, the issue is, we don't know whether it would have been any different if they were buying cigarettes or some other product that's
No,
underneath.
that's
the-
actually that's what she told me afterwards. She thought that the cigarettes is different than the vape because she wasn't getting exactly the difference between the vape and electronic cigarettes and the cigarettes, because the cigarettes is too many signs, ID cigarettes, and she has the mentality before that cigarettes ID, but she never, it's something new,
Yeah.
that she never worked on as much as the cigarettes, because the cigarettes always ID. As I said, we don't sell that much of vape or the electronic. That's why she didn't have that much experience of it for having customers showing ID or trained on that, because that never happened when she was working or training at that time.
Well, I mean, the only thing I can go back to is the fact that as cigarettes, the sale of cigarettes morphed into vaping and other products and whatever, which isn't, that old, kind of thing. It's a newer product. You hate to say it this way, but the state, particularly with the way they set heavy fines for this scenario, okay? I mean, they've changed over the years dramatically, the fines and whatever, and particularly for the conversion to do with the vaping and whatever. And they're sort of backdooring the concept of, if a particular product is a problem to you and it's not economically a great thing for you, sometimes no one's forcing anybody to sell a particular
Absolutely, yeah.
product and whatever. And I think backdoor, they're kind of telling you that if it's not really a very profitable kind of thing, that will not support the fact that a mistake can be made and things are good for business, then maybe it's a product that
Shouldn't have it.
smaller facilities and whatever, may choose not to do certain products because of the difficulties that it
agree.
creates them for them. But no, I agree regretfully that I think our hands are tied, that we don't have the real right to say that it didn't happen and therefore waive it. So
Yeah, that's the one decision, and that to waive the fee, and the way it's written is that it's nothing about the clerk. It is whoever the permit holder is. And that, you would think that in other circumstances, if there are town of Chelmsford regulations, we can then reduce the fee even from $1,000 to $0 or something. But in this case, if something happened and it's the responsibility of the permit holder, the state says it's $1,000 and we don't have discretion about the amount. It's just we can judge, did it happen, did it not happen?
No, it did happen. I'm
So-
not saying that didn't happen. It did happen.
So,
Okay.
Want to do public input?
yes, is there any public input, either here in the room or on Zoom or any other?
Yep, I don't see any hands up in the Zoom chat, so there's none on there either.
Jack, okay, all right. So, do we need to close that part of it? The public input?
we have to make a motion to close public input.
Okay, the second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Do I have a motion, I guess, is the next issue? That if we, if we're sort of in agreement that we don't really
I feel
have the
sad for a
tools.
first incident and such, but I think that we're kind of,
Okay,
this is in the realm of the state. I
yeah,
think the motion is that it has to stand.
okay. All right,
Second.
second that, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. So regretfully, we can't.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you for coming in. Appreciate it. Thanks again. All right.
All right, so our next hearing is on 10 Hildreth Street. You have lots of documents in here.
Mhm.
The first part of these are documents that have been in previous hearings that you have all reviewed. If you go to the larger packet that you'll have, the black part on this one, these are the newer documents. Starts with the August 6th, yep, that one right there.
Okay, great. Okay. All the rest has been before us already.
All the rest have been before us, unless you want to discuss those again.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Just,
So if you have the one, David, the one that's August 6th,
yeah,
I don't see with a bigger clipboard, but
yeah. At the very top, it should just say,
It's August 6th.
yes,
Okay.
that's the one. So these are the newer.
these are the newer documents, yes.
That'll come in. Okay. All right.
All right, so let me kind of read through. Have each of you read through
Yes.
any of these things? Okay, so you don't need me. I'll just kind of, for the
Yeah.
public, share this information. This letter was sent to us by Christine and Paul Woods of 16 Hildreth, Linda and Jeff Carney of 17 and 19 Plum Street, and Marcy Komodos at 24 Hildreth Street. All right. August 6, 2024, to the following departments and boards of the town of Chelmsford: Planning Board, Conservation Commission, Board of Health, and Water Department. We are writing as concerned Chelmsford residents with a list of issues regarding the proposed project on 10 Hildreth Street. We address several questions and areas of concern that are pulled together to help streamline information between town departments. As abutters to the land of the proposed project, we feel that Phase 1 study did not sufficiently recognize the concerns of the neighbors. No neighbors were interviewed during this process. See Assessing Brownfield Sites Fact Sheet Sources. One of the questions raised is the possibility of contamination with PFAS, as well as other unknown contaminants from automotive fluids due to the multiple motor vehicles that have been abandoned and possibly leaking onto the property. See photos on source page. In addition to photos, neighbors have observed the following: multiple vehicles stored on many areas of the property, bulldozers working, backhoe, John Deere tractor, operation of HVAC business, Midnight Mechanics. See source page, Midnight Mechanics. Trailer by the stream. Trailer also had occupants during a time as witnessed and heard by neighbors. See the photos and the sources. The trailer by the stream raises important questions. Neighbors report that while the trailer was inhabited, voices were heard at all hours of the day and night. The trailer was eventually witnessed being smashed to the ground by construction equipment. See photo and sources. Why was this trailer destroyed with remnants left on the ground? What kind of activities took place, and could there be any residual contaminants from the demolition? Research shows that vehicles contain PFAS in several components of this structure, as well as in the lubricants added to them. See one sources. John DeMille, who conducted the 21E study, reported that there was no visible staining on the property. This was not unexpected, as the dirt has been moved around due to structures built on the property, riding of dirt bikes, removal of trees with stump removal. See aerial tree cover photos on source page. Research has shown that PFAS is highly mobile and can enter water supplies. The health standards for PFAS are measured in parts per trillion, which indicates that it only takes a small amount to create a hazard. PFAS is a huge risk for cancer, as well as immunotoxicity and negative health effects on human feces. Given the delicate nature of the area that this proposed project is situated upon, this is a concern that should not be overlooked. See two sources. Property Possible did not report to the state that there was a reportable concentration of PFAS found at 10 Hildreth Street. This is a serious offense. The town of Chelmsford needs to follow up on this. The state has a program that evaluates reportable concentrations to keep PFAS out of our drinking water. According to Lassard Environmental, Inc., who conducted the peer review of the Phase 1 21E study, Property Possible knew about this and failed to meet the deadline. We as Chelmsford residents implore the health department not to move forward with any approvals until the state follows up on this. There is a real risk what is found, as well as what might not have been found. This development is very close to the town's well. The applicant's attorney, Mr. Hauser, states that the town has no authority outside of the 400-foot Zone 1 area. All of 10 Hildreth Street is under Zone 2 and is less than 700 feet from the well. See water map on source page. The well could draw water from Zone 2. Therefore, we have to be careful with what is happening in that zone. The town has no control over what products may be used by people residing in the proposed homes. The products used by the households are riddled with PFAS and can end up both in the septic systems as well as in the groundwater. See two sources. Many car washing products and lawn fertilizers contain PFAS and is used by residents. The runoff will flow toward the wells. The proposed septic systems are close to Zone 1. With stormwater issues, there is a major concern of groundwater contamination. The results from the peer review study of the Phase 1 21E reports that the groundwater from the subject property flows towards the town wells. It should also be noted that there is a stormwater outlet pipe sitting in the Natural Heritage Protected Area. There are still concerns that shared between town residents as well as the Chelmsford Water Department about the proposed septic systems and the leaching fields being put under the driveways. See leaching field locations and sources. This is an especially bad idea in an area near a town well. As stated by the Massachusetts official website of the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, impervious areas such as driveways or parking lots restrict air passing through the soils. In addition, the weight of the cars can compact the soil and may break distribution pipes. Lack of oxygen prevents the degradient of the septic effluent in the soil, and compaction reduces flow, making the system likely to clog and fail. Soil absorption systems, which are placed under driveways, are required by 310 CMR 15.240, Section 7, to be vented to the atmosphere. Additional standards apply to the system's components and whereas automobile and other heavy equipment is anticipated. In regard to Lot 2, the Conservation Commission should not approve this lot unless 100% of the lot is outside of the 100-foot buffer zone to protect the possibility of a duplex being built at another time encroaching further in the buffer zone.
Correction, that's lot 4?
Yeah, I said lot 4.
Lot 4.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. The applicant still has not produced any approval notices from Natural Heritage, despite being asked to do so on multiple occasions. Both the town residents and the Conservation Commission want and need evidence that Natural Heritage has been informed that the lot of 10 Hilder Street is an area that is directly adjacent to vernal pools. The critical 100-foot buffer zone of the vernal pools that is a minimum protection necessary. Projects in the 10 Hildreth Street area protected by Natural Heritage. This area inhibits endangered species, and Chelmsford bylaws call for protection in endangered species. See Natural Heritage maps and sources. Thank you for taking the time to read this, as well as to view the source page that has evidence to the backup what is written here. We appreciate that each department does it for the town and your interest and investment into this project. Again, it's from Christine and Paul Wood of 16 Hilder Street, Linda and Jeff Carney, 17 and 19 Plum Street, and Marcy Comtos, 24 Hilder Street. And then you have, hello, board members, please find 2 documents. One is a letter, the other is a source page with photos, clickable links. Please use a source page in conjunction with the facts in the letter. We appreciate your time in reviewing these documents. Every link has been printed and is in here for your review.
Yeah.
And I know all of you have reviewed those. All right. So with that, we have Larry Lassard, environmental. Larry was contracted with the Chelmsford Health Department to do a peer review at the applicant's expense, but we'll have Larry, if you could share your results from the peer review that we do have in front of us.
Sure, I'm happy to. At the outset, I have to say that I'm not feeling great tonight. I'm having some pretty bad allergies, so I'm going to try to be concise in what I say, but I'm happy to answer any questions if it appears I've gone too quickly over something. So we reviewed the...
Why don't you just pull the speaker thing towards you a little bit?
Okay.
Great.
Much better, thank you.
All right, great. We reviewed the hydrogeologic report prepared by Northeast Geoscience and the Phase 1 environmental site assessment prepared by Wilcox and Barton. Those were in the file, those were the 2 primary documents related to environmental issues. And Northeast Geoscience put in 3 wells, did some sampling, identified PFAS contamination at the site. It appears that subsequently Wilcox and Barton put in 3 more wells that also showed PFAS at the site. Between the original 3 well and the 6 well installations, there are a couple of different estimates of groundwater flow, which is typical that groundwater flow estimates would be evaluated as more data becomes available. And the reports do indicate that it's a reportable release of PFAS exceeding 20 parts per trillion in a RCGW1 area under the Mass DEP regulations. There has been, as of the time of the letter on July 30th, there had been no reporting of the PFAS release to Mass DEP as could be discerned from their online database. There is a 120-day reporting period when you identify a release of this type. There are other reporting periods for other types of releases, but 120 days is applicable here. And that's from parties' knowledge. Now, the reports properly indicate that Property Possible, who the consultants were working for, is not an owner of the property, and they're correct that Property Possible at this time has no reporting requirement. However, the property owner does, and there's a requirement that the data have been to be shared with the property owner. All of the information has been part of the public record for some time, so the property owner should be aware, and their reporting clock has run, and been that 120 days for the property owner has been exceeded. So we made 3 recommendations, one related to PFAS, and the other 2 related to some other conditions that had been observed on the property. So we recommend that the Board of Health request documentation confirming the necessary reporting of the PFAS 6 detections has been made to Mass DEP, and that the detail of response actions moving forward be shared with the Board of Health as required under the DEP regulations. There were also a couple of items in the collective reports that where conclusions seem to have been made without presenting the associated substantiation that resulted in those conclusions. And that includes indicating that there was no release from the various automotive activities because there was no staining. There's no detail of how rigorous the evaluation was relative to that. And so primarily based on the PFAS issue, we recommended that the permit not be issued at this time pending receipt of the additional information. So
Okay.
did I make it through that
Yes.
coherently? Because I'm
Yes, you did.
not at my best right now.
No.
Are there any questions?
Any questions from any of the board members?
So specifically in Wilcox and Barton, on their findings, they said that there was did not appear to be an associated with a property-specific release condition, the PFAS that they found, and it seems to be at odds with what you found. Could you expand on that?
Not necessarily. I don't think that the source of the PFAS is known, and the reporting requirement exists regardless of what the source is, and regardless of whether that's on property or off property. Now, the DEP regulations allow for properties that have been impacted by a release that's from a groundwater flow direction up gradient from them, and that status that can be achieved is called down gradient property status, and that if they had sufficient information to claim DPS, which I don't think they do yet, but there are certain portions of the data that look like they would be supportive of that, then all the DEP deadlines for response actions are suspended under DPS. But the key part relative to the town is that upgradient property owners are notified, the town is notified, and now there's more information and an opportunity to look upstream, if you will, for whatever the source is. But the statements that PFAS is just ubiquitous those are not correct statements. I'm the LSP for the largest PFAS site in the Commonwealth, and we have looked at that site in great depth, and we'll look at it in a lot more depth over probably the coming decades. And so there is the potential for a conclusion once there is additional supportive data that the site that the Hildreth's property is impacted by something else up gradient. And that's fine. The DEP regulations allow for that. What the DEP regulations don't allow for is not reporting it.
No, no questions.
Okay, all right.
Any other questions, sir?
Huh?
All right.
No.
Thank you
All
for
right.
now.
Yes.
I'm
Thank you.
guessing, Doug, you want to?
If I may.
Yes.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'd like to ask a question or two of Mr. Lassard.
Sure.
Thank you. Is it doctor or Mr.? I'm sorry, I don't want to. Yes, sir. All right. Well, if you've earned a PhD or something, I want to be polite. And
Fair enough.
That's all.
I don't hold a PhD.
Okay. Prior to issuing the peer review report, did you try to contact anybody at Wilcox and Barton about the report?
No,
Is there a reason why?
because the documents were filed, they were public record, and my task was to review the documents that had been submitted.
You didn't think it would be worthwhile to get some background information about the reasons for their findings?
It wasn't part of the scope that was approved by Property Possible.
Property Possible didn't agree on the scope. The board set the scope.
No, I developed the scope, and
For the
Property
board.
Possible contracted with us to do the review, and our proposal included a listing of what we would be doing.
Okay. Well, my understanding is the board and you developed the scope and my client had to pay for it. Let's go forward from there. You indicated in your report that there was, quote, no information regarding the wells was included in the body of the report other than figure 8, which identifies locations.
That's specifically relative to the MW 101 through MW 103 wells.
I hadn't gotten to the question yet, so my question was going to be, did you review the boring logs and monitoring well completion reports that were included in the report?
I'm gonna interrupt for 1 second. You'll need to take turns on the microphone so that we can actually hear the,
I'm happy. I
Answers.
can project a little bit, and he's not feeling well. So have a little concern, maybe perhaps there's another mic over there.
It's
'cause-
it's allergies, sir, but
allergies.
that's fine.
Well, okay. So my question was, did you look at the boring logs and monitoring well data that was submitted?
The ones that were attached, yes, but that
Okay.
did not include all 6 wells.
My only point is, the blanket statement is no information. And that's just that's just plain wrong.
Well, but that's not the statement.
Sir,
statement was
may I, sir, please?
Sure.
With all due respect, and you presented to the board. Now, this is my opportunity, and I didn't interrupt you, and I'd like the same courtesy.
Of course.
Thank you.
All comments directed to the chair?
yeah,
the
all
chair.
comments to the chair, and I think there was some confusion, but you were having a discussion with him at the moment, so
I
let's go
had
back.
a question, and that's why I asked the board, the chair, to allow me to ask the question.
Yes.
I didn't ask for responses, I just asked for basic yes/nos. Fact is, it's a quote, no information was regarding these wells was included in the body of the report. That's false. And as you just heard, the boring logs and monitoring well completion reports were in fact included in the NGI report. Now we'll go to the next misstatement in the peer review. It indicates that the results of sampling are required to be provided to the property owner within 30 days of receipt of results. Our expert has identified that according to the MCP 40.1403 subsection 10, when environmental samples are taken at a property, importantly, in the course of investigation of a release, for which a notification to the department pursuant to the Code of Mass Regulations has been made. There hasn't been a notification to the department by anybody, the town or the town of Chelmsford Water District. No such notification was issued. So that creates 2 problems. First of all, my client, its experts were doing a report as due diligence. It was not doing an investigation of a release for which notification to the department would be made. It was just doing its due diligence. My client does not own the property. He has no such obligation by law. Notification to the department regarding a release at the property has not been made. And property possible is not required to notify the department until they own the property, which is 120 days time period after it acquires that property. So the triggering point hasn't occurred. That's part one. Part two, the peer reviewer indicated that a reportable condition has become public record through the permit application, and that Chelmsford, the town, and the property owner would have, quote, would have become knowledgeable of the results through that process. When did PFAS results become public record with the town? Can you tell me? Because I don't know that there is such a report.
Report.
There would be some type of notification by the town that it became public record. Do you have a public record that says?
That isn't what we're talking
Anything can be
about.
public.
That's what the,
Anything is public record. You talking is public record. I'm talking is public record when you're on a setting like this. And there's been
Hold on a
plenty of
bit.
settings.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
go ahead.
Alex Wayside from KP Law here, Town Council. To answer Council's question, any documents or information submitted to the board are immediately public record once they're submitted to the town.
whether they're true or not.
Absolutely.
Right.
All right.
So we can have conjecture as reported, and that becomes a public record based on conjecture, and that hence becomes a public record because it's been submitted to a department. Is that correct?
Well, whether or not it's correct is a matter of your opinion. The fact is, once the document is submitted, it's a public record, period.
Well, I don't know how you can attribute that to the owner of the property who hasn't been at any of these hearings.
Well, the owner of the property is a potentially responsible party under the MCP, and they therefore have a legal obligation to report a release, as the peer reviewer stated,
If a release has in fact taken place.
which the document suggests
Which
has
document?
occurred.
Which document are you referring to, counsel?
The documents that show the amount of PFAS.
The amount of PFAS is based upon what the town of Chelmsford Water Department's reports were, which could be the contributing factor here of what created the problem to begin with.
Right,
So-
but the wells are on the owner's property.
I understand that, but because they leached over, that's correct.
It doesn't matter where they came from. Under 21E, it's joint, several, and strict liability. So if there's PFAS on the property that we're speaking about this evening, and it exceeds a reportable concentration, which the reports indicate it does, then there's a legal obligation to report that to Mass DEP.
It's not a legal obligation by my client as a prospective purchaser.
I didn't say that. I said
Okay,
the owner of the
I
property has
understand.
the responsibility.
Thank you, counsel. LEI indicates that the Phase 1 that was considered they said that my clients, Wilcox and Barton, our engineer, considered it, the detection, a, quote, de minimis condition. That's not true. Wilcox and Barton specifically said they detected the elevated concentration of PFAS. They made it known. So the report is inconsistent with what actually took place. In fact, Wilcox and Barton said that the PFAS is a recognized environmental condition. And that was actually agreed upon by your peer reviewer. So the two comments made by the peer reviewer are not jiving. They don't stick together. There is in the report prepared by the peer reviewer, it indicates that the Phase 1 environmental site assessments report indicated there was no evidence of release associated with improper solid waste storage. Wilcox and Barton didn't say any such thing. It said, quote, there is no evidence of significant releases of oil and/or hazardous materials that was observed during the site inspection. However, the assessment was limited due to the volume of the material. That's what was said in the report. It's inconsistent, again, with what's been provided to you by your peer reviewer. The peer reviewer states that Wilcox and Barton did not adequately justify their conclusions that the on-site PFAS detections are not reportable. Wilcox and Barton never stated that the on-site PFAS detections were not reportable. They've never said that. And they further, their report indicates that Property Possible is aware that the concentrations of PFAS exceed the MCP reportable concentrations, and if my client buys the property, it has to notify Mass DEP within 120 days, which it would intend to do. So this peer review report that I read, and that was assessed by others in working with my client, shows all the indicia of a conclusion that was reached before the report was actually done, and then it was found to justify it, to come to a conclusion that would be favorable to the people in the audience especially, and to the board. That's the impression that our expert has, and our team working on this project for now almost a year has that report. It was a conclusion already reached, rather than just a real peer review. And to show you that there was somewhat of, I would say, a lack of good faith cooperation between the professionals, I don't know of many peer reviewers that would not have contacted another person, professional in their field, and said, we have some disagreements, or we don't understand why you're saying within a report, we don't believe some of this is supportable, please let us know why. To have no communication but to issue the report. Please don't give me a face, Richard. I don't need your face.
You watch.
I am not going to watch it. You're already giving me a facial distortion of concern. I'm not interested in your discernment of what I'm saying. I'm putting on the record what my client wants. You don't have to agree with it. You're not going to. You concluded on this stuff a long time ago. You're not going to vote in favor of anything. We already know that. So please give me the opportunity to state what my client's position is. No more and no less.
No more from you, yes.
No more from me. I'm allowed to speak
No.
at a public hearing, sir.
You speak, you finish what you're saying, yes.
I have that right, and I wish you wouldn't contort like you just did again. The record.
Oh, my,
What's your, you can't sit still and allow someone to speak? Really? My only point was, two professionals in the same field who should know each other, if they had a disagreement about conclusions in a report, or the format of the report, or the data within the report, they would have had a discussion. And what we got is no discussion, but a 5-page report that is filled with inaccuracies or misinterpretations or differences of opinion. But what we don't have is a conclusion that's de facto correct. And what should have happened here, and I still think should happen, is that your peer reviewer should have a discussion with our reporter, our Wilcox and Barton, have them meet and discuss and go through the report line by line, correct, so we get accurate information, and that we all act on accurate information and not just conclusions reached by a peer reviewer who did not reach out. That's all we're asking for. I don't think that's asking for too much. I'm asking for fairness. Thank you.
public input?
No, we want to hear from Mr. Lasard again. Yes?
Yes, any comment from
Mr. Lasard?
Ms. Lat? Yes.
Sure. There was a lot to unpack there. I'm going to use just one very clear example to indicate that the statements that were just made are inaccurate. So there was the claim that the report from Wilcox and Barton doesn't say that the PFAS is a de minimis condition. But if you look at the executive summary, the fourth paragraph of the executive summary, the second sentence reads, "The degree to which PFAS compounds are ubiquitous in the environment suggests their potential presence at any property. This finding is classified as a de minimis condition." Then secondly, relative to reporting requirements. The Massachusetts Contingency Plan in section 310 CMR 40.0006 has a series of definitions. And the definition for knowledge is either A, actual knowledge, or B, knowledge a person acting in a reasonably prudent and intelligent manner would have, but for the person's willful, knowing, or negligence avoidance of learning about the fact or facts in question. This information is all part of the public record. There have been a series of hearings, there have been reports generated, and even if you try to calculate the 120 days from the issuance of the NGI report on 22 February 2024, we're past 120 days, well past. So I don't, our report kind of it will stand for itself, and I don't feel it's really necessary or appropriate to address the other statements that were made, which I find inaccurate. But that one example, I think, stands.
Okay. Any other? No. Okay. Public input. For the record, state your name and
Joel Luna, 10 Carter Drive, I'm the associate member of the planning board, and I mention that because what I'm going to say is out of the purview as a member of the planning board, which is that it's been my typical understanding that a peer review for the board does not talk to the applicant's engineer or whatever unless they have specific permission from the board. And typically what happens is that is requested or a response is requested by the board before we get into a dialogue between peer review. So I think that the process that you've gone through is what I would consider a typical process. And I think that if the applicant wants to have his engineer talk to the LSP, then I think you could certainly grant that and get that feedback. But I would first, if it were me, I would ask for comment back from the original engineer and then review that and then consider whether further discussion is warranted. So that's the only comment I wanted to make.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Christy Wood from 16 Hildreth Street. First of all, I just wanted to say that personally I thought that the Lessard Environmental Incorporated did a great job with the peer review. And especially in regards to pointing out that, like he had said, that what the PFAS should have been reported to the state, and that should have been done in February. So what I feel is that the delay in reporting is just a tactic to let the clock run out and hope that the town gives them their permits before the state catches up with them. So the right thing for the town to do is to regulate that this property go through the state program. This reportable amount of PFAS, it does matter to the state, and with this property being near the town wells, it will be a higher priority to the state. And when it is reported, it will become a Superfund site, and that is also known as the Massachusetts Contingency Plan. It would be incorrect, however, for the town to think that just going through that first step of notifying the state would be enough on its own, to believe that the DEP and that the LSPs are going to monitor and take care of everything. Because firstly, it's important for the town to understand that the DEP is short-staffed. They're not always able to closely watch these sites, and therefore they rely on independent LSPs to assist them. Secondly, the LSPs that they rely on may very well be the same LSPs that work for the applicant. So these LSPs have a wide range of decision-making, and then they report them to the state, and there are many loopholes. So it's super important that the town continues to utilize the peer reviewer LSP throughout this process, even with the state investigating. And it should be known that this is a long, lengthy process, and sometimes it can take several years. Third, the state will most likely ask for more sampling, and I raised the question, are there reportable concentrations of PFAS in the soil at 10 Hildreth Street? And are there just piles of PFAS on that site? We have two other sites on town that have had similar issues. One would be 270 Billerica Road, and one was Brick Kiln Road. And the town allowed them to move along as long as they didn't make the conditions worse. But this site has special issues. Number one, the septic. Two, the close proximity to the water supply, and the sensitive habitat concern. We need the Board of Health, the Board of Health, to manage our health risks. No technicalities are worth overlooking. Serious potential health risks there could be, without overlooking the serious potential health risks to the people of Chelmsford. Is it worth that risk? And I urge you to do the right thing and continue doing the investigations through the state and with the peer review. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, anybody else? No problem.
I'm Marcy Comtois, 24 Hilder Street. Just to like to give you a couple more pictures of things that have, social media is great. You can find lots of things on there, and some more pictures of the differences we've talked about multiple times, cars on the properties, many cars on the properties being used on the properties. They're easy to find online. You can find anything nowadays through people's sites. So we keep getting called that we're here, we're disgruntled neighbors, we're just making stuff up, but we don't come up to you if we can't back it up. We don't come up to you with stuff if we don't have some type of proof or way of showing you that this is what we're seeing, this is what we've been witnessing for many years. So, if you don't mind.
Thank you. All right, well, let's start down here. And then. Anybody else out there?
We do have some.
I've got my hand.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Zoom now.
Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. So my name's Michael Lefevre. I am on behalf of Property Possible. I'm the applicant for this. So generally I would leave it to, council and my team to take care of all of these things, but I just think I need to address the record here because the abutters are trying to paint us and this project in a very negative light. It has never been our intention to hide anything from the state departments. We've always went to each department to go and figure out exactly what we need to do, what testing needs to be undertaken. We've done that with the water department. We've done that with planning board. We've done that with all of the other departments. I was told by our environmentalist that since I am not the owner of the property, I do not have to file anything with Mass DEP. And that is, as of right now, factual. There's nothing that I need to do to report anything to DES since I am no longer the property, or I am not the property owner. The property owner has absolutely no knowledge. And again, yes, we can dispute things back and forth about whether what's public knowledge or not. He lives his life. He works a full-time job. He is not following these meetings. He's never attended any of these meetings. And he has never received any knowledge from me, written or verbal, that there's any contamination on site. So for painting us as some bad guy where we're trying to hide information from the public, something that our LSP would legally never allow to do, they're not going to sit there and risk their license and get a bunch of fines for a small 4-lot subdivision that has a concentration of PFAS in it. So these things were always going to go through the correct departments, the correct organizations. The sleight of hand here is finding that the owner of the property has not reported a condition he is unaware of. So that can be very quickly rectified by giving him a phone call, sharing him a report, and filing things correctly with the state. So had we known that, we can certainly take care of something along those. But we were operating under the guidance that since I do not have any ownership of the property right now, I am not required to report a condition. The other thing I just want to kind of bring in is the hyperbole that's being spoken by all of the abutters about the unsafeness of PFAS and how this is just some toxic brownfield site in a residential community, like it was being used as a salvage yard or a landfill, the concentrations of PFAS that were tested on the site were consistent with the concentrations of PFAS that are going through their faucets at their home right now. So the coffee that they're making in the morning, the water bottle that they're filling up right now is at a concentration that was found in the groundwater at our subject property. So you're trying to trigger this and make this seem like it is some horrible, toxic, cancer emitting property, when in fact the same concentrations are going into your drinking water. Now, I would expect everyone in the abutters to be storming Chelmsford water with picket signs and forks, knowing that they're being poisoned to death on a daily basis by the Chelmsford Water Department. But I don't see any of that stuff happening. I just see neighbors coming and complaining about a couple of new homes being put into their neighborhood, which I'm not something I'm unfamiliar with, but I think we need to bring the rhetoric back to a normal basis, and we need to stop feeding into the hyperbole of people over-exaggerating what is actually happening. The concentrations of PFAS detected were minute. Of 20 parts per trillion, I believe the highest well tested at 23 parts per trillion. I mean, this is an incredibly minute amount of overage, and if you're testing in parts per trillion, the variance of those tests could sway one way or the other. So I think we just need to put everything into reality here. There's been no secret planning by anyone on our side to try to sneak by DES or sneak by the planning board. We were doing everything as instructed, and the concentrations and the levels of PFAS, considering what the town is dealing with, is very insignificant. And in addition to that, if Mass DEP decides that we need to go and do further investigation, that is going to require us to start knocking on guess whose doors? The neighbors. And then they're going to want us to start drilling on the neighbors' lots. And then the neighbors are going to come to find out that they've got PFAS in their groundwater now. And then now they're going to have to be reportable condition. So then now the entire neighborhood is going to end up being a reportable condition on Mass DES. Further, putting stains on their property. I mean, this is how the process goes. I'm doing PFAS on multiple other projects in other states, and this is exactly how it goes. They're going to be getting a knock on the door, and they're going to be requesting that we can go find an upgradient source, start drilling on their property, and guess what? You are going to find PFAS in the groundwater. The entire city of Chelmsford is contaminated with PFAS, and it's starting with the drinking water. When you turn on your irrigation, when you water your plants, you are all contributing a source of contamination if the water that you're using is contaminated. So I just want to bring that up front. We are not trying to hide anything from anybody. There was no deliberate attempt to not report anything to DES. The owner has no written or verbal knowledge of any of this that has happened. We can rectify that if this is a major issue, but I think we need to bring the temperature down here on what we're talking about. This has never been a registered brownfield site. It's never been a landfill. It has been a residential single-family home that has had a couple of automobiles and some residential waste that was put on the property. And I've got people here complaining daily about a person that's trying to go and improve that neighborhood, which would be removing the automobiles, removing the debris and the trash on site, and making sure that that condition is now monitored routinely. So I don't see how what we're proposing here is something that should be construed as negative, where the current owner could keep it that way for the rest of time if he so desired. So again, I think we need to bring the temperature down. I think we need to understand where we're at and not take this thing and blow it out of proportion here. It is not a significant source of PFAS. It is slightly over that condition. And again, sorry for the long-winded item, but I'm just getting tired right now of the assaults on this project when they really aren't informed of what's going on.
If I may,
I yield back my time.
let me add one other thing to follow up with what Michael,
I believe someone else was next before Doug.
if I may,
Someone else was in line before Doug.
Yes, there was somebody.
if I may make one comment to correct an error that was made by a prior speaker, point of order only. National Heritage is still reviewing. We have not gotten anything. We're not holding back anything. When National Heritage they had a person assigned to this site who went out on, I believe, a maternity leave. It has recently been reassigned to another person, and we're expecting to get cooperation from National Heritage on that, so we can get a report that we can give to you and give to the public. I just wanted to make sure that we're following up on Michael's statement. There's nothing to hide here. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, thank you.
Chrissy Wood again, 16 Hildreth Street. I think the point about like the fact that the property owner didn't know is really just null and void. I mean, he had every opportunity, he had the same opportunity that any of the rest of us had to come to meetings. We all work full time, we all have a life. I certainly do, and I still come. And, you know, so he had all the chances to find out the information if he so wanted to. So I think that the fact that he doesn't know is not something that can be used as an excuse. And the other point I wanted to bring up is, hey, if they want to buy the property, buy it. Buy it now. I mean, they don't want to buy it unless they can do what they want on it, right? And I'm suggesting that you don't let them do what they want on it until the state looks at it and makes sure that it's all good to go. The other thing I wanted to say is PFAS is measured in, what is it, parts per trillion? So to say that the amounts aren't a lot, I don't think you can say that. And it doesn't matter if it exists already. So we're going to contribute and make the problem worse? We're going to contribute to a problem that we know already exists and add more to it? That makes no sense, to say that it might cause cancer and to diminish the meaning of that. I'm sorry. I don't think that anyone's going to want to put their stamp on that and say, you know what, that's okay with me. Let's poison the people of Chelmsford. That's okay. Let's do that. Because why? Because a few people want to make some bucks. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other input out there or on, anybody else on?
No.
Line? Anybody else in the audience there? All right. You walked in late. I just said, oh. All right. No comment, no question, no nothing? Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity.
No.
I don't know what y'all talked about. Sorry for being late.
If you could go to the podium, that'd be
I
great.
don't really have any.
Okay,
Very good.
all right, okay.
I mean, all I would say, I missed the last hour.
Yeah, can you say who you are, just so we can do it from?
Hi, Peter Spawn, 24 Fenwick.
Thank you.
Apologies, I've missed the last hour, so you all, I'm not really in a position to offer much of anything.
Okay.
But when I look at this project, it seems pretty clear to me, is the state has determined there's a reportable quantity because it matters. And what's been reported has been, or about to be reported, I'm a little clear on where we are in that, but it's groundwater. The state also has reportable quantities for soil contamination. So the way the state program works is if you have one of these reportable quantities, which is a health-based number, right, in either soil or groundwater, you get into the state cleanup program. And that's what's happening. And so the big unknown from a technical point of view is there PFAS contamination on the site, in the soil, or not? And that's how these programs are set up. The whole ASTM Phase 1 is take a look and see if there's any possibility. And if there is, you're supposed to sample. And so I don't know if you all talked about that, but that was just my thought in looking at the background documents. So thanks. I wasn't going to say anything, but thank you.
No, thank you. Okay. Anybody else? Okay.
Bob Gother at 22 Hildreth Street. And throughout this whole year-long process, I find it amazing that Property Possibilities gets the information to you people. If you want it by 6 o'clock, get it to you at 5:59. Does not surprise me that trying to go around the system by not notifying the property owner of the problem. We just won't tell him. We get the project approved, maybe we take care of it afterwards. Because it becomes our responsibility once we own the property. But the issue was discussed and provided before we owned the property. Now, Garrett should have told us what the problem was, current owner of the property. And they just kind of go around that. And that's been property possibilities modus operandi. And as a neighbor, I'm very disappointed with that. And it goes from everybody who's working on this project, whether it's the developer, Hancock Builders, or the attorney, who likes to throw things around and get everybody upset. Gives a rat's behind about what's going on. Just get me my money. Thank you very much. I'm done.
Thank you. All right, so are we, no? Oh. Okay.
Nate Montero, 4 Hildreth.
Thank you.
What the neighbors just witnessed with the attorney attacking the board was, to me, an embarrassment by him. That was an embarrassment. One question that I have, I asked the planning board the same question, was a letter on April 10th from the, where is it here? The water department. Due to the Board of Water Commissioners has taken proactive measures by instituting a new rule and regulating prohibiting the installation of private septic systems on properties abutting Zone 1 or adjacent to wetlands directly abutting Zone 2. Given that the property in question is next to Zone 1 with wetlands intervening, it is imperative that the alternative solutions. The gentleman earlier said that they're not trying to hide anything. That's April 10th. What are the alternative solutions? Has there been any alternative solutions regarding the septic systems? That's the developer is saying that he's not hiding anything. The residents would like to know what are the alternative solutions based on the letter dated April 10th. That's 4 months ago, 5 months. That's all that the residents would like to know is what are the alternative solutions that is in black and white public record. Appreciate your time.
All right, let's see. Anybody else out there? Either on-
Yeah, Michael LaFavor, the applicant.
Yes, okay.
It seems like everybody is up to speed with all of the public information that's happening with Chelmsford. So it just confuses me why they wouldn't know what the alternative is. The alternative would be us to connect to the city sewer. But the city sewer has been on a moratorium and not allowing residential tie-ins for several years now. We would never be exploring this option with septic. We would never have had to do any water tests. We would never have had to do a phase 1 environmental. All of these things would have gone away if the city of Chelmsford would allow us to tap into a sewer that is directly on site. So if you want to throw up arms, I'd love to get the entire neighborhood to come down to the city to allow us to go connect into sewer. That'd be lovely. So we have been exploring every alternative possible, and we're not hiding anything. It's all been public information. It's readily available for everybody to see. Happy to tie into sewer if you guys give us permission, but we've been told no several times, even after multiple attempts. So just want to make that clear as well.
Okay, yes. What- Oh.
Yeah, just quickly, Peter
All
Spawn
right,
again.
sorry.
Oh, did I jump? I'm sorry. I thought you asked.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say that, Michael, what you said isn't entirely true, because there's a big unknown question on the PFAS, and it has not been determined whether or not there is a source of PFAS on that property in the soil. I know there's been some data put out there, and there's, the LSPs are doing their discussions back and forth. But from my point of view, there still is that open question of whether or not that property is contributing to Chelmsford's well contamination. So even if it was connected to the sewer, you still got a situation where the development process is going to have to move around soil, and we do not know if that soil is contaminated by the alleged vehicle and other operations that went on that site. So I'm just speaking from a practical point of view. I mean, Richard, you and the board will have to figure out what our bylaws say and what we can and can't do. But from a practical point of view, connecting to the sewer doesn't eliminate the fact that this site has a reportable concentration. And again, I want to be sure we remember, the state has determined that the amount of PFAS in the groundwater exceeds a health standard that the state has established. And by the way, that standard, which is I think 20 parts per trillion for 6 PFAS things, I believe the state's in the process of making that lower, because this stuff is even worse than originally thought. So, you can go around in circles on this whole thing, but I think the town has an obligation to work with developers to make sure these sites that are known to be contaminated are not going to create a future health risk. And that's all I care about. For me, it's not development or no development, it's who wants to take a health risk. So thank you, and apologies.
All right. Yes.
Hi, Justin Johnson, 26 Hildreth. First, I want to ask, there's been a couple instances tonight where the residents of the street have, I would say we've been made uncomfortable. Is there an issue with us being here?
No.
So, I don't know why there's, I won't say attacks, but there's definitely stuff directed at us for us being like complaining or trying to change the narrative here. I think what we're all expressing is concern over what is possibly going to happen. You can say that there's PFAS there, and it's okay, there is, and it's not necessarily just about what we're dealing with right now, it's what also could come through in the future. Right now, there is reportable concentrations that should be brought to the state. If this gets worse and it's on top of Chelmsford's well, why would all of the citizens have to pay the price for 4 houses? We already had a letter go out, I think a year ago, about a above average concentration so we've already had an issue. It's already come up once before. I don't know why such a small development would be considered at this point when it's sitting on top of our wells. You can put a house there, you can put another house there. It's not necessarily the issue of, hey, I'm against like developing stuff. That's just the way the world goes. It's the issue. My issue is what's going on with our health and what is possibly going to go on down the line for future generations. That's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm Linda Carney at 19 Plum and 17 Hildreth Street. And I'm not quite sure how to word what I have to say, so please bear with me. And speaking back to Mr. Lefebvre as he just came back on the second time, and his response that we're concerned about tying into town sewer, okay? He knows he can't tie into town sewer. We know he can't tie into town sewer. He made me feel like he was talking down to me, that I was thinking that I didn't know. He was thinking that we didn't know that he couldn't tie into town sewer. Everybody in this room knows town sewer is not available for residential properties right now. All we're asking for him to do is to come up with what his alternative plan is, now that the water department has said he can't do this without tying into town sewer. We're asking for that clarification. We're not playing dumb that we didn't understand that he couldn't tie into the town sewer. I just think he's short-selling us as neighbors, and we've been here right along, as you know, at every departmental meeting regarding this, and I think we are as knowledgeable as a lot of the people in this room, and it just made me feel like he thought we were trying to, like, we didn't understand that he didn't know that he couldn't tie into town sewer. I'm not quite sure, but it just set on very uncomfortably. We are very well aware, and that's the point. If he can't tie into town sewer, why is he still proceeding with this project at this time without coming up with alternatives to that? Thank you.
We have Michael LaFleur on the call again.
Oh, okay. Yes, go ahead.
Michael.
Sorry, actually, I don't have
Sorry.
anything to say. I forgot to take my hand down.
Okay, all right. All right, so are we done with input? Okay, public input on this issue?
Motion to close public input?
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that part is, all right.
So first off, what is the proximal question that we're being asked tonight?
Basically, their next steps. Do they, the hearing continued tonight into one, having the peer review results and making this decision on if they pass the groundwater protection or if there needs to be stipulations first put in place.
Okay, and if we divide the issue, because one question has to do with the septic systems under asphalt, zone 1 adjacent, and I'm not sure that there is as many questions or problems with that, but
Well, again.
from
I mean,
what I read.
Yeah, no. I mean, again, there's multiple different questions that have come up. I mean,
So let me kind of help you.
Yeah, go ahead.
The step that we're in right now is the
Right.
groundwater protection zone.
Right.
And then once that, if that passes and at some point is approved on this property, then they would go into the septic process, which would then go through an approval process. So there's a
So
lot
septic-
in here, but septic is after the groundwater
So
protection.
septic is after, okay. And then to go back to this issue, ultimately, what's not disputed between these two is that PFAS is above a reportable level. Is that true?
That's what one is saying, and the other is saying they didn't say it wasn't, but didn't say it was.
Because on one hand, you know, if I own a piece of property, it's my right to do what I want. But I can't create, you know, there's limits in terms of creating problems for somebody else. And right now, the question is, if we have PFAS above reportable numbers, it might be that site, it might be up gradient, you know, we don't know that. So,
So if it's reported to the state as it's required, then the state would then require a plan.
and that plan would be looking for a cause that we do not have right now,
Correct.
correct?
Yes.
And with our experience, like with your experience in Chelmsford, the reason we have the septic system is because we had failures and fines and illness
That's why we have
in
the sewer
the
system.
past.
Correct.
And the big problem with PFAS is that you don't want to make a permanent error.
Yes, yeah. It's a difficult moving target, as was implied, that they're even considering lowering the numbers even lower, you know, for all parties involved, not just this particular project, but for everybody out there, kind of thing that's involved with where it is, and particular water supplies, and where you get your water supply versus where you don't get your water supply. I mean, there's a whole bunch of variables that are out there, kind of thing. But I think at this point, we're trying to determine, as she said, those environmental factors involved, okay, with the site, and what's the next step and where should it go? And with where we stand right now, should it be going, whether it's going through the present owner, who is technically the owner, that they're doing their due diligence to make contacts with the state and whoever, but I think something has to move in that direction one way or another so that we can get some final answers in regards to where does this piece of property, go forward to? I mean, again, septic is another stage of the issue, but we can't forget the one issue that we're facing, which is this environmental component, is with, let's say, PFAS or other constituents that maybe, again, I'm not implying that it is, but maybe found, or different things in the soils versus what's in the water, and, et cetera, kind of thing. So I think we're in that situation where we are probably, again, looking at the question, should it move on to the state's purview, that they know it, and what's going to be their follow-up steps to it, and whatever kind of thing. And I think, as brought up by somebody, it has hopefully a higher priority of look at and review because of its location to water supply versus other locations that are not directly related to water supply, let's say. So it doesn't get any easier. No, it doesn't get any easier.
And one thing, I don't think that anybody involved is evil. I think they have different, different agendas, which is fine.
No.
But in terms of determining what's going on,
Yeah.
I don't want to screw up. And I'm just, if it's, I don't know that the PFAS levels are elevated from something on site, or if it could have been off site or whatever else, but that not knowing the cause, I'm a little bit, I'm really nervous about saying this is good and letting it go on.
Yeah.
What happens if the owner is informed and informs the state, and what happens there? Because
Well, again, there's a, once the state knows about it, I guess, there's a pretty clean process in which they follow. I mean, I'm not that privy to their time schedules on how they do A, B, and C, but the process is in place. I mean, it's not like it's not been done before, and this is the first time they ever did it. There's locations around that they're already going through, and I think the state is, again, as I said, if they're really requiring to lower the levels even more, I think they're kind of implying even a more critical review of what's going on. I'm not saying that anybody has the final answer right now, but go from there. So,
and someplace in all this, there's a discussion, a hydrogeological study, talking about flow and saying it doesn't go to the wells.
well, I mean, you hate to say it, but again, not getting into the thing, is that the waters of the Zone 1s and the Zone 2s are going to get pulled into the well system that we have in the town, because that's what we got. I mean, if we didn't have a 100% public well system, I mean, I know there's a few private wells out there, but not many. You can probably count them on a few hands at this point. But bottom line is that these are the areas that are directly or indirectly recharging the well fields and going to be pulled into the water you drink. So it becomes an argument about how long it'll take for it to get from point A to point B, more so than will it get from point A to point B. I mean, we've had other contaminants in the past that actually had even, say, slower movement processes that we found in some of the well fields at different points in time over the years, and you shake your head and say, geez, that's a surprise that it could get from there to there, but the issue was it did. And the study of it showed its location and its source and whatever kind of thing. And again, going back to the fact that whatever we put into the ground potentially becomes an issue in a community where what you put in the ground is what you drink, kind of thing. And therefore, yes, I think we have to be prudent. I mean, I guess if we were getting our water from a reservoir, up in the mountains where there's no signs of anything, then I guess we wouldn't be talking about it. But if we're particularly a town that, for most of its history, has put everything we've ever had in the ground, and what's the term they use for this stuff? The forever group, where it never disappears. Well, I mean, never. It's
forever, but
Can't- you can't go back and forth.
Right. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No. But
Thank you.
So bottom line is that I think we have to be prudent, and hopefully the system will work a number of these things out, and as much as the sewer, the not sewer, all those other issues that get dragged into this, but we're finding more and more issues, the more and more we look, which everybody says, oh yeah, but no, it's not bad that we know that it's there. You can't do something about something if you don't have any concept that it's there. But and it's lousy that you find it. It's lousy that you find it on your property, but the fact is that you can't do anything about it unless you know that it's there. And testing, I mean, blank number of years ago, they didn't have the capacity to test in the trillions. So therefore, no, they didn't find it. It may not even been used at that time, but they didn't find it. But now they can, and regretfully, the data is now showing health-wise that there's quite a few issues.
And the fact, there was a mention in one of the reports that Chelmsford Water District is talking about putting PFAS removal in place. That doesn't really change anything, because the bottom line, you just don't want to put it, more than you have in your water supply.
Until you get a whole, I mean, you can do a lot of different things to, quote unquote, improve the narrative, but the issue is you need to get a handle on what it is, where it is, and how much of it's disposed of, where and how, and it's a multifaceted scenario, not just one, kind of thing. I think so.
And I think one of Mr. LaFavor's points
Yeah.
was that when they actually do the investigation,
Yeah.
it might pop up that it's someplace else, which actually, if it pops up on somebody else's property and in the neighborhood, it might not be good to know there, or for them.
Yes. I mean, again, again, you're basically trying to, narrow down what I call sources of PFAS, residential use sources versus non-residential sources, and the non-residential can be more of it and larger concentrations and whatever. So therefore, commercial properties could potentially be, more dramatic than potentially residential houses. But we'll see, I guess, is the answer that we're all going to have to face.
So my summary is that there's elevated PFAS.
Yes.
We don't know what.
Yeah.
We have a concern that by disruption or flow or whatever, that it is in a location that's adjacent to Zone 1 and
Right.
close to wells, that could create a permanent problem there.
Mhm.
The next step, am I right in thinking that if the state takes over, they then do an investigation to find out what the source is at that point?
Yes, and again, I think that was implied is that there would be a dual activity, which, where the communities and the state, have to refocus some of their directions. As the state does certain things, any information that they can get through the town's processes and whatever are also, something that they don't have to go running around and chase and whatever. So, but yeah, I mean, yes, the answer is yeah.
Because I'm just looking for what is going to get us to the point that we feel safe.
Well,
I don't know that we're going to do that tonight.
no, I don't think anybody of us have a magic wand. So no, I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that at all.
I apologize for talking so much, David.
okay.
Did you have any questions?
No, I do not.
So,
So what's the proximal question tonight?
Do you want to accept the recommendations from Lassard Environmental going forward? Do you want to say something else based on all the information that you've received? Do you want to continue the hearing? I don't. Maybe Alex has a recommendation from KP Law?
Through you, Mr. Chair, Alex Weissite from
Yes.
KP Law. So one thought that did occur to me is, in my opinion, the board has broad authority under General Law, Chapter 111, Section 122, to abate public nuisance conditions. And under that statute, nuisance conditions are deemed to be any condition which could be injurious to public health. So to the extent that there's a concern about the elevated levels of PFAS on the site, I think the solution to that is for the site to go into the DEP's system, be assigned a release tracking number, and follow the procedures under the MCP to determine the full extent of the release and whether there is significant cause for concern or not. And so I do think the board has the authority to order the record owner of the property to make that notification to DEP of the release.
Okay. So you think to make that order and also to have all the parties understand that that's the direction we're going in, that we're putting it into the state system? Is that what you're implying?
Well, so it would be the record owner's legal responsibility to notify DEP. I think you could include information, the public records that have been referenced tonight, as part of the order, so that once the record owner is supplied with those public records, that he is then legally knowledgeable of the release, and that's when the legal obligation to report to DEP commences.
Okay, so that's kind of recommendation number one.
Right.
Is to ask the owner to require that the owner reports it to the Mass DEP, correct? The second recommendation is for documentation relative to accumulation of auto parts, maintenance, product containers, and other materials and activities that resulted in the accumulation.
They can't hear you.
Yeah.
Sorry. Second recommendation is the Board of Health requests additional documentation relative to the accumulation of auto parts, used maintenance, product containers, and other materials and the activities that resulted in the accumulation.
Yeah, which again, I think is what once it gets into the state system, that's clearly what they're going to be doing, but yes.
Okay.
It's...
And the third recommendation, pending response to the request recommended above, whether or not to approve the pending application can be further evaluated by the Board of Health.
Okay.
Do you think that the first requiring the owner to report to the DEP is really the important
Well, I mean,
one
again,
here?
it sounds like it's, at this point in time, it's one of the hang-up points, so I guess formally it would behoove us to make that step to inform the owner, the present owner, current owner of their obligations, and that it needs to go into the system, and that these other issues are what we're looking to help and determine, going forward, yes.
So Rich, through the chairs, they're two separate.
Yes.
Reporting to the state would be the PFAS levels.
Right.
The other piece on the contaminations
Yes.
would be a further review and a deeper dive into a 21E on that
Okay.
part. So those are two separate
That is two separate things, yes.
items, yes.
Wait, what contaminations other than PFAS?
Well, but again, I mean, the obvious issue is that PFAS.
Right now, the only thing that we do know, sorry to check, is that the PFAS numbers are at a high reportable number to the state. The other results, we don't have enough of to report, we don't have enough results to report anything to the state on that second item.
Right.
That's why they're two separate. Did that make sense?
You made sense. I thought that I thought some of the reports had actually said that they went through to look for, oils and such, and they did not find them.
On the summary from
Which-
Lassard Environmental, is that he felt that they did not do a deep enough dive for that information. They didn't share what they actually found in detail and explanation, so that we would request further information on the work that was done for that 21E.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, clearly, I think that's what we're looking for, is that, a further review of the 21E is clearly looking for the PFAS issue, which is but also too, it's always about what else would it or could it possibly show up, and we don't know. I mean, that's always an unknown kind of thing. Anything else, you, counsel? Anything else that you would say about the verbiage there of what we're doing?
No, Mr. Chairman, I think it sounds to me like you're on the right track.
Okay, all right. So, yeah, if you...
So do we want to propose numbers 1 and 2 of the 3 recommendations?
Yeah, well, do we got this? So we got it, yeah. No, yeah. I would say, yeah, we'll do the 3.
All
Just
3?
the 2.
I thought the third one was contingent on the first 2.
Yeah.
That's true, that's true.
Findings.
Okay, yes, okay. So why don't you make a motion on the first 2, and we can vote on it, and...
For this, do I need to read it out loud again?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So, board recommends that we request documentation confirming that the necessary reporting of PFAS 6 detections to Mass DEP has occurred, and detail regarding next steps in investigation and response actions. Secondly, the board recommends additional documentation relative to the accumulation of auto parts, used maintenance product containers, and other materials, and the activities that resulted in the accumulation.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, unanimous. All right. All right,
Close the hearing.
yes.
Close the hearing.
Motion to close the hearing?
Seconded.
Second? All in favor? Aye. What?
To continue the hearing, it's not to close.
Sorry.
Alex, what wording would we use to continue the hearing based on the results?
Thank you.
Continue the public hearing.
I'm sorry. Yeah, okay.
Motion to continue the hearing at another time.
Based on the results coming forth.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Seconded if necessary.
Okay.
Yes,
And I think formally he seconded, so I think we have to vote again.
yes, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
Okay.
So we formally did it, okay.
I think technically it
Technically, we did it. All right. All right, so
All
let's
right,
get,
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to sign off.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
That's right.
You.
All right, let's go to the regular
Um,
stuff.
Yeah, so the next, I think,
All right, you
I
go
just found
straight
a,
out.
well, I'll let you open the topic. It's the approval of the minutes.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think that in section on public input,
Mhm.
the end of the sentence is cut off. Motion made,
Yeah.
open and close public input, seconded by David Paquette. It was voted unanimously to open and, I think it said open and close is what it should be.
Oh, see it?
Okay.
Last page, next to
Yeah.
last paragraph.
Okay.
Wow, we cleared the house.
Missed
I
it.
know, ooh, see?
Do we have?
You're still
anybody-
live.
Yes.
We are,
A
so,
whole
but
meeting.
nobody's on Zoom, correct?
Nobody's on Zoom. Zoom is closed.
Okay,
It's still on telemedia.
okay.
Okay.
All right,
So motion to approve with the, if that sentence is filled out.
okay.
Sound good?
All right.
Thank you.
Motion.
And seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye to the minutes. Okay, all right, so
All right.
let's flip the page to that. All right, ooh, way down here.
All right, so we're on incoming.
Yep.
So we received an email from Ruth Lunar regarding 273. 243 River Neck Road, my mistake. And that was really around some information, and Rich and you and I had spoken about it
Yes,
at one
yes,
point.
yes.
Concerns about some old contamination on that site. There's a lot of information in here that goes back to 2007 and in the 2000s.
This is documentation related to when they built
To another
495?
site.
Correct.
And they put the waste there and such.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
so she had concerns that there was still probably some contamination there.
It was also that the original, when this went through the Board of Health in the 80s or something, that this actually, that they said that limited use going forward, and that had just been sort of lost over the years.
Yeah, and then they did have a DEP cleanup that happened there. And when was that ordered? The date of orderment was
Yeah.
2005, December 23rd, 2005. The final inspection all continued through there. Basically, working with Ruth, we weren't able to pull together any definitive information that anything still occurred. So we weren't able to put through a request of a 21E for this project,
Okay.
because it's just not enough information to require that.
Okay. That was very helpful.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, yeah.
All right. So the next one is, there was a sewer main break on Progress Ave. And we actually went out there, we met actually Stormwater and the sewer department out there. Rich, you met Charlene and I.
Yes.
At that area. The reports were handled correctly. Christine Clancy, the DPW director, called in DEP, EPA, did all the things. We went out to look at it, no concerns. It was all handled appropriately and very well done. So they got their follow-up with DEP that they'll continue to do.
So wait, did they have any idea why the pipe failed?
Old pipe burst.
Burst.
Yeah, we
Okay,
need
so
to
It was,
work on
it was after a
replacing the
pump
pipe.
station, so when the pumps kicked on, the pipe.
Okay.
What happened is they were there actually checking the meter and happened to see it, so they were able
Yeah,
to catch
so-
it very quickly.
They caught it quickly.
that's good.
Which is
Yeah.
very good,
So-
yeah.
But are we at the point that this is kind of worth the lifespan of the pipes that we're going to
Yeah,
see
she's working
more?
on getting some things taken care of there.
Okay. And there's no problem with like roots or any construction overhead or anything like that?
Not that I'm
Okay.
aware of.
Okay.
Didn't look like it, no.
I'll apologize because I'll ask questions.
Oh, yeah, no.
This isn't my field.
Yeah,
and so I make sure I have some sense of what's going on.
Yeah,
and You're
absolutely.
probably like, oh, silly doctor.
No. The key there was that the timing, the location.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but weather conditions. It was very dry, and therefore the drainage brook that could have potentially carried some of this material down towards well fields and whatever wasn't running
Yeah.
and whatever. So therefore, everything was favorable for a change when something went wrong, kind of thing. So, all right. So okay, so we got that one.
All right, the next one is a notice of availability, status of remedial monitoring report, 188 Princeton Street. This is basically the summary reports for the last 6 months that were sent to DEP.
Okay.
So that's ongoing.
Okay.
What's
On-
180 Princeton Street?
It's
That's the former Shell. Used to be a former Shell gas station.
yeah.
What is it now?
Can't picture it.
It's the, I looked it up.
Petro Plus?
Let me get your picture.
Petro Plus. It's a
I
gas
think it's
station.
Petro Plus now, right?
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
That's been going on for a long, long time.
This is the Mass DEP Consumer Confidence Report Certification for East Water.
Mhm.
It's an annual report. There was no issues at that time. The next one is from DEP, sent to us. WJ Graves has applied for an air quality permit, which is now required for all of them. Once they have reviewed it, they will let us know, and the public will have 30 days for public input.
Okay.
And this is at the, this is Westford adjacent, or?
This is next to Newport Industries
Yeah, okay.
by Westford, yes.
Right up there off of Ledge Road.
Yeah.
All right. The next one is East Water PFAS wells. This is their communicating to DEP and sent us a copy that their PFAS levels have exceeded, and they have notified DEP, and the complete compliance plan is in place, and public will be, it's obviously notified as we were notified.
Do they have
So they're working on a plan.
Do they have an amount in this someplace?
It did not give me the exact amount, it's just telling that it's over the allotment, and they needed to put a plan, so the attachment is the form they need to fill out.
So this is what we would have otherwise expected at, on Hildreth.
Center Water had already done this over a year ago, and they've already applied for grant money and
Grant
such,
money
and they
and
have
stuff.
things in place to
Yeah.
address theirs.
Okay.
Now, East Water will be working on something similar. The next few documents is tropical smoothie pumping reports
Mhm.
for the last few months.
Did we want to tell them at some point that,
We did,
They've-
but they
they've been
haven't,
good
they
citizens?
they haven't come back, so.
Yeah, but-
We did inform them that if they wanted to come before the board to request not to continue, she could, but she hasn't.
okay.
Not to
And so-
continue what, I'm sorry.
This is something that they did not have the ability to do an external grease trap like we require.
okay.
Because it sits on ledge. And they have been good citizens in the sense that we said that they had to get it cleaned out professionally, like once a month. They had to tell how much stuff was in there, so on and so forth. And that they could not expand their menu to include anything that had grease, etc. So this has been somewhat onerous for them to do. I think every month, is it?
Yeah.
And they keep giving us the reports, and this has been going on for like a year and a half, 2 years now. And I think originally we said that they had the option after, like a year or two, that they could apply to sort of have a decreased, I think it was decreased frequency. I don't think it was that it didn't happen at all.
Right.
And so I think that we've notified them, and we're happy. Like I said, they've been good citizens, so that if they wanted to come before us, we could reconsider the frequency.
I guess they just find it easier just every month, just do it and send it and forget about it,
Yeah,
so.
which also means they don't end up having a surprise. If they were to go 3 months and all of a sudden find out that there's some sort of problem that.
Problem that they don't find it after the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
All right, the next one is Central Mass Mosquito Control Project. The spray dates for August was the 1st, the 7th, 13th, 19th, 22nd, and 28th. And as usual, the residents can call the 508-393-3055 from 7 to 3:30 if they wanted their specific land, property, or neighborhood sprayed. All right, we have a few rabies laboratory reports.
These are positive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, many are.
So this one was a brown bat to a dog and possible to the human.
And the dog was positive.
It was positive. And I asked Darcy to follow up. Both adults went through the rabies vaccine process. Yep, and so did the dog.
Sheesh. And the final one, the rabies test that's negative,
For the next one?
there's 2 dogs involved, and one's positive, one's negative.
The Davis, yeah.
I have a dog named Bruce.
Yeah,
And a dog named
Yes,
Wrigley.
correct.
All right.
So
Correct.
Wrigley was okay.
Yes. All right, the next one was Newhouse Wildlife Rescue.
Oh, wait,
had
can I-
called- Whoop.
Did they have to put the animals down? How do they do the test these days?
No,
Done.
no, they did not have to put the animals down.
Okay, so I assume that Bruce is gone. Wrigley's
Yes.
alive still.
That's my
Right.
understanding.
That was,
Okay.
my impression
So
from it.
there must be some kind of post-exposure prophylaxis for the animal as well as for the person?
I guess if it's early enough,
If it is early enough, it's possible to do it
it's
that way.
possible.
Right.
Yeah, it's possible,
And
so,
it appears to have caught early.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Versus waiting till the
Our
dog
dog has
says,
received the rabies
"It's
booster."
still- yeah.
It's too late by
It's on the notes part. Her dog has received his rabies booster and is being quarantined. Her and the husband have received their preventive vaccines
Yeah.
through their healthcare provider.
And there's a cat Thorn who's unsatisfactory.
Are you on the same form, or are you on a
18
different one?
Grandview, yeah. No, she's at the next one then.
There's a lot of animals here.
18
Yes.
Grandview,
All
yeah.
right, you skipped over to 18.
Yeah.
So 18 Grapevine. So
Yep.
there's unsatisfactory, then how do they handle that? Any idea?
Well, I mean, someone says it's a strange, animal wandering around in circles and it dies.
But this
and
is,
they-
this is, this is the, oh, so it was a bat
Yes,
that was tested, not the dog.
right.
Or not the cat. Okay. And then, one thing, in Massachusetts, if I have a kid bit by a squirrel, you don't do anything in terms of rabies. It's assumed that all squirrels in Massachusetts are negative. So, if it changes, then I have to change what I do. But we routinely test the squirrels if there's a question.
This particular one was because of Newhouse Wildlife Rescue. She
Yeah.
chose to have the squirrel because she was called to rescue the squirrel.
Yeah.
And she chose to have the squirrel tested.
Okay, so there wasn't a behavior or anything like that. It was just she brought it in.
That's my
didn't want to
To the
affect
environment, and
didn't want to
the
affect
rest of-
anybody
yeah,
else.
yeah.
Right,
Okay.
right. The one that was the bat to the cat and the specimen was decomposed, the cat and the family went through the rabies vaccination.
Okay.
Even though they weren't
Sounds
able
good.
to determine.
Thank you.
We did follow up on that one to make
Thank you.
sure.
Donna, the rabies exposure, that's part of naturally reportable diseases. Does someone from the department report that to the state?
Actually, the report itself here, we get reported, when the test is done, that goes to the state.
Yeah.
The state is the one that reports it to us.
To us,
Because it is.
yeah.
We're getting it from the state laboratory.
Right, so they, state lab.
So done and
then
done, yeah.
Goes
Done
to
and done.
federal, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yes.
Aquatic treatment.
All right, so Hart Pond was treated on August 1st. They did close it just till noon time, just for unobstructed treatment process. There was no harm to anyone for it. And that was really for the nuisance of the algae.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, the Route 3 spill mitigation. They do have a signed contract for the removal of the containers there. It did say early August. It hasn't started yet. We'll follow up next week if nothing has started.
You okay?
No comment.
This is a spill that, what was it?
When did it occur?
No, what was it?
No, it was on the highway.
What
Not-
was it? What was the substance?
But not in
Oil,
Chelmsford.
it was a tractor
So at any
trailer.
rate,
Yeah.
they decided that the spill occurred in another town, and
And
they
they moved
decided
it.
to like move it to Chelmsford.
Store it,
And then
Okay.
store it here.
Sorry, so
It's
you was like spitting nails.
It's like, what? Keep it yourself. It's your community. You keep it. What are we doing with it? But whatever. It's past, so it's fine. Okay.
All right, you're on to Clean Harbors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The DEP report is attached. This was 30 gallons of hydraulic oil released to pavement on Warren Ave and Fleetwood Drive. They're following up and doing the right things with DEP. There
Right.
was no significant risk to the health at the time.
Okay.
And what was it? Was it just a popped line or?
Yeah, it was,
It was E.L. Harvey, a trash
Yeah, it was
company. One of the Packers trucks blew a line or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
While they were working, so.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the trash truck's hydraulic oil line.
Yeah.
Okay, motion to accept incoming correspondence unless somebody has any other questions?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. All right. Outgoing.
All right, for outgoing, we have 10 King Street, an appeals, 24 by 28 garage. It had nothing to do with us. I put no concern, signed off on it.
Yeah.
It was just due to lot coverage amount.
Yep.
39 Evergreen Street, Department review for Board of Appeals, a 23 by 29 and a half, second floor addition, a lot coverage concern, Board of Health sign off, because no concerns for us.
And so it wasn't like a new residence or anything?
No.
No. The next appeals was 26 Strawberry Hill Road. It's a 34 by 8 farmer's porch. It didn't meet the front setbacks, no concerns for the Board of Health. They signed off. All right, the next one is a letter that I sent off to Key Moments LLC. The body art establishment was the approval of the variance for the 6 foot or more petitions that you approved at the last meeting, along with sinks in each area. The next one is 39 North Road in Crosby Lane, the proposed development of 16 residential rental units. Basically, my letter to the select board is it obviously must meet the Title V septic system regulation and dumpster regulation. Other than that, there was no concerns for us. All right, the next
How many
one.
units is it?
It is
16 was
it's
it?
now at 16.
16.
They increased it. That's why there was a second letter. All right, the next one is an order letter that was sent to 41 Hall Road based on the nuisances and contamination possibility, and not contamination, but mosquito infestation, trash, debris in the backyard and on the porch.
All right. Yeah.
The next one is a violation ticket given to the Princeton Station for $150. The two issues were the men's employee bathroom, sink is rusted, concerns for cleanliness for the employees, and the kitchen ceiling needs some cleaning.
All right.
And that is the end of outgoing.
Motion to accept outgoing?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Super. Old business.
All right, so old business. At the last meeting, you had requested information on sewer capacity
Yeah.
and some of the questions.
Right.
So I worked with Christine Clancy, DPW Director. They've been very helpful. So the first one is the sewer credit policy was developed to promote economic growth, and so additional sewer capacity is reserved for commercial properties. We do allow residential to add 500 gallons per day, which allows for minor build-outs, but not substantial residential build-outs. We remove capacity from the system through an I&I program and track how much we can then allow for purchase. You're going to see the PowerPoint. So if you skip over to her PowerPoint, the different things that they're doing.
Who do we purchase it from? Who do we purchase? I thought Lowell wasn't talking to us.
Well, that's the
No, it's, what they're talking about is when, right now,
Oh,
Lowell
I
is
got
not.
it. Okay, if they have extra capacity,
Right,
then
Someone wants
commercial
to-
properties can
purchase the sewer credits
capacity.
through DPW.
Okay.
So with that, how they continue to try to get additional sewer capacity is in her PowerPoint. So you'll see the short, midterm mitigation efforts, and then the long-term capacity mitigation efforts that they go through to continue to get additional capacity for some projects.
Dear Lord. So the graph that shows the sewer capacity by month, what in the world do they do when we're 50% above capacity?
You'll see it further, there's actually fines that are paid. It's not on that particular PowerPoint, but
Sheesh. And I assume that there's no motion on increasing capacity in any way, shape, or form.
not at this point. Lowell does not have it to.
Well, Lowell doesn't have it, but nobody's talking about building more capacity for Lowell.
Not that I have heard of, no.
Okay.
Is the state got a program to improve regional sewage treatment plants? No.
Right. So the next one is a sewer capacity and connection restriction.
By the way, if anybody knows anybody at the State House, it seems like an important issue if they're worried about housing.
Right.
And there's no more capacity in the systems.
That's when you go to the sewer systems,
No,
which
no,
some towns and
no.
cities are on it.
No, I'm not going to get into it. No, I mean, no. The bottom line is that, yes, if they're concerned by housing, then they have to have infrastructure to support it. And has the state come up with anything so far to balance, what I call balance the scenario? You want more housing, well, you need more infrastructure, and then maybe you can have it. No, nothing, zero, so. Thank you for getting this. This is good.
Yeah, so I think you've
Thank
all
you.
read through the rest of the
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so motion to accept old business?
Now, we have one more.
One more.
There's one more?
Yep, the last thing was the pool abandonment
Yeah.
that mosquito control had sent out. If anybody, last month, anybody had any abandoned pools, to give us a call. They would spray for mosquito
Oh,
things.
mine got attached somehow.
Your next door neighbor has a pool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
But actually, I'll let you know that I did ask Mark to go out and take a look at these properties, so Mark and Charlene went. The two abandoned pools that I did get the information from Mass Central Mosquito was 120 Westford Street. They called on their own,
Yeah.
to have it sprayed, and then they have filled it in, so there's no more abandoned pool there.
Well, that's.
And then 14 Princess Ave, the
Yeah.
homeowner called themselves.
Yeah.
to have it sprayed, and they're looking into what they can do in the future.
Future, good, good. Yeah. I
So
mean,
the good
you wanna-
thing was, it was people
yeah.
calling on their own.
Permanent
behalf.
solution. Oh.
Yeah.
Do we not move
Have we
around?
outstayed our welcome?
I don't know, I guess. All right, so why don't
Oh,
we?
down that way, Nancy, that's why.
Okay.
There's no motion down there.
Oh, okay, that's what it is. All right, so we need a motion on
Yep.
approving old business.
Motion
Got
to
it.
accept old business?
Oh, no, new business, I'm sorry.
That was
New business. No, this is
No,
new
Old
business.
business, old business, yes.
Motion to
Ah.
accept old business.
All right, let's get back on
Seconded,
track.
okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, that's done, okay. New business.
All right, new business is what we talked about previously is the rules and regulations for body art establishments and practitioners, our regulation. So the changes that I made, if you want to approve them, is on page 6 and 7. And I have it highlighted in yellow. I can get myself to it, you're already there.
So we've defined it's body art practitioners and not just the owner, whatever the
Yeah.
thing was in there.
That crazy wording part, yes.
Yeah, there was operator before that was getting confused with practitioner.
Practitioner, right.
So that has been clarified.
Yeah.
So in number 2, it's body art practitioners areas, which it used to say operator. Number 4, body art practitioners area used to say operator. Same thing with the rest of number 4.
Yeah.
And then number 5 was added, multiple body art stations shall be separated by a permanent impermeable wall or partition that shall be a minimum of 6 feet high.
Okay.
And then down in number 8, talks about the running water under pressure equipped with wrist or foot operated controls.
Yeah, how does that, do they have on their scenarios, this foot-operated kind of thing in these sinks that they have?
The ones that are down,
Yeah.
The ones we talked to last
Yeah.
time?
that wasn't, it was something that was suggested when we spoke last time, but we
But-
didn't make them do that. It was just having the sink in there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which ones they used.
Okay.
This
I
just
can
gives
let you know that.
options, is all you're saying. This just gives options to do.
No, this is stating that we're going to require that.
We're gonna require it.
Right.
And that it's going to be accessible within each body arts practitioner area.
Right, I mean, they're required
Right.
to have either a wrist or a foot operated control is my point.
Wrist or foot, yes.
Either, so they have an option
Okay.
to either, or.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and also too, the other thing that sort of wasn't, I don't know for sure because I didn't get down there, but the janitorial sink, did they have one down there?
Yes, it is in the regulation to have a separate janitorial
Right,
sink.
and they do
Yes.
have one down there? Okay,
do
good.
have one there.
That was good. That's
Yes.
good. I said, oh, good, jeez. Was that not in the, well, it wasn't on the original plan, that's why, that plan that they gave us.
Well, yeah,
They didn't bother to
yeah.
show that either, so I was
Right,
like.
it is, though.
You know.
And then 12 and 13 was updated.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, as I said, I was looking at it, and I think that the changes are good. The only thing that I was looking at is I was interested in to see what different states were doing with their body art regulations and whatever, and particularly in what I call the requirements to get your permit, the courses in A, B, and C, and whatever. But one thing that this state doesn't do is that they don't actually have a practical exam in which you require them to take it, but some states do have an exam, just to get a clear picture of, not that someone got their, blood pathogen, course done and a course somewhere with, anatomy and physiology and those kinds of things there. I mean, I think those are all critical things, but they also have what I call an exam that sort of covers the whole, written exam that covers the whole thing. And Mass doesn't do that, doesn't seem to have any. And again, it's not that they're not out there, they are. There's actually some consultant companies that actually will do an exam. You can, meet somewhere and they'll do exams and whatever kind of thing. I just didn't know whether that was of any interest in which that we should require a sort of a step up. I mean, because, I mean, we have the thing here, we have the thing that talks about how many hours that they need to be somewhere, they've worked somewhere else.
You have to have the passing course too, yeah.
You know, but, and they have to work for what, almost 2 years or something like that to be, before you qualify. And of course, the other side of this whole coin is that we now have a regulation that we've never had to enforce before, okay, kind of thing. And also, but we never had because people, no, not worth it, it's not worth it, it's not worth it kind of thing.
Oh, well, when Ernie was on the board,
Yes.
he told me that he wrote it. He said he required that you had to have a board-certified surgeon.
Well,
The only person who was able to put and that's
Yes.
what he told me at least.
Yes,
I
yes.
didn't read it.
No, but
that's why Chelmsford didn't have a.
But the idea
Model
was
for one.
all those things that you might require
Yeah.
of it. Of course, it was new back then,
Yeah.
and regretfully, as I said before, the state just said we're not doing anything anymore. Sorry, towns, you take care of it. And it's like, okay, really, and so. The issue would be that they came up with this Model 1 finally after so many years and whatever, and at least it gives some structure, you know, to it, and also gives some structure of eliminating all the what I call the more off the end kinds of procedures that.
So is there any like downside to? We'd have to look into it. We don't.
Yes,
the
no,
cost-
well,
the
that-
cost
no,
and
yeah.
availability. But the other thing is that sometimes there's like you can take a measure and find out that it actually doesn't improve anything.
Yeah, well, that's what I don't know. I just took a quick peek around to see what was else. Was there anything out there? I mean, I don't think with what we have here, I think it's fine. Okay, I don't have a problem with that. The issue is, do we want to, quote unquote, do a little bit more than what the state did in their carte blanche, model kind of thing? I don't know. Again, as I said, I haven't
When you
looked
found
into
this,
it.
is this like in like other states or
Other
is this,
states, yes.
or is it like Westford and Tingsboro?
No, other states. What I'm saying is Massachusetts. It was interesting just to kind of scroll through the computer on what states require this and what states don't require anything and this, that, whatever, and Massachusetts and New Hampshire sort of fall into it. Well, they didn't require a heck of a lot, kind of thing. I mean, it wasn't that they didn't require anything, but other states have taken it that next step to basically require. And I was looking at just some of the questions and answers in the exam, and it basically showed that they understood the overall general codes that are also out there. Particularly about the privacy issues, about the paperwork, about the reporting, all that other kind of stuff, which again is something that our inspectors are going to have to sort of learn of, because we've never done it before, of what should we be looking for when we go in there and what kind of paperwork and documentation, and to show that they're really doing it and not doing it kind of thing. It's
And did you bump into is this something that's like a standardized exam in all the places to do it, or is it like each community that has it?
No.
is doing their own version?
This was sort of, again, it was a state that didn't pass on the thing, just threw it to the locals.
Okay.
The state
So
actually
the state
kept,
actually had it.
which is where Massachusetts was. Massachusetts basically they controlled tattooing,
Yeah.
and for a number of years they didn't allow it at all. Period. That was their way out of it. And then they sort of like, well, we have to approve something, and they found it to be a little bit more difficult than they thought, and then just went, nope, in 2 months it's yours. Sorry, bye.
A quick review, I did not see any mass
Yeah.
exams out there.
No, there is not. Nothing to do. Massachusetts is one of the states that doesn't do anything. Again, I'm not automatically saying
We should be aware of it.
that we should be doing it, but the issue is, do we approve this tonight, or we just take a little? I mean, everything that's in here tonight is fine. I don't have.
It already says we approved it tonight.
Huh? No, I know that.
It says this regulation was
August
amended,
12th,
voted
yes,
on,
no,
and
I-
unanimously
It's in
approved.
yellow, so it's still a draft.
So it's a draft.
Still a draft.
So I guess the question is, do we? And again, it's not like I'm hung up on it one way or the other. It was just interesting that I just kind of caught on to all these other states doing it. And again, but they were states that I think one of the places was cosmetology is sort of the overlaying thing to body art that does all these different things, and they've sort of created exams and other kinds of things in a process to make sure that you understood the whole concept of tattooing or whatever you were doing a little bit more thoroughly, other than I need you to get this, this course over here, and I need you to get that course. Well, what about all the other things in between, kind of thing?
My motion would be that we keep our ears open as time goes on, because I don't think this is the thing that we're going to solve between this meeting and next time's
Yeah,
meeting.
that's fine.
But keep our ears open, so if all of a sudden we start finding that there is sort of a national standard that's
Yeah,
evolving, or
yeah.
the communities around us and such.
Yeah.
But I would actually say that barring any further discussion, I would make a motion.
Yeah, no.
We
Again,
accept-
I was just throwing it out there because the last day or two, I just kind of was whipping through it and couldn't get a real handle on it. Of course, with all of the other stuff that was in the packet, it was like.
So I'll make a motion that we accept
Okay.
this as amended.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Yeah. No. As I said, we can take a look at it and see if it's
right.
something that we want to pursue, kind of thing.
So the next thing in new business is, I had mentioned to each of you when we talked about tonight's meeting separately, was the discussion of regarding possibility of future Board of Health meetings being televised and or Zoom access. It has been suggested that we do that with the only regulatory department that doesn't do that right now in the town, is what was shared with me, so.
But I thought it was shared previously with us that they just didn't have the capacity, in part because so many of the select board and such meetings overlap with our regular time.
Correct. So when we had looked into that previously, and I had spoken to telemedia at the time, they did not have that on the specific nights that we do have our meetings. And they still don't have that capacity on the specific nights that we do our meetings. If you so chose, we could, and wanted to, and was available to switch nights, there are other nights available in order to do so. Those nights are Tuesdays, the first, third, or fourth Tuesday of the month. Wednesdays, the first or third Wednesday of the month.
All right.
And Thursdays, the second, third, or fourth. So something you'd have to consider on a whole schedule change.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
it's something that you were interested in
Yeah.
and available
Well, I mean, looking
to
out
do.
there, you see, other than these few, over the period of time, few high-end reviews over the last 40 years of hearings and whatever, this is what we usually look at for being televised. No, I'm just saying.
No.
is that
When I'm
the
laughing
track
about it,
record.
I just think about when I first joined the board, we'd sit in the board of, the Department of Health. There was a table down there in this room, and we'd sort of cram in there. And if we had 6 people, that was an absolutely packed house. So that when we first started doing chicken.
Yeah, well, chicken brought a few out, yes.
Yeah, and so. No, so that with this, I'm okay doing it first Mondays. Wednesdays are difficult because I come from Dracut. Thursdays are difficult personally for me because I'm late. I'm in the office till 8 on Thursdays. Tuesdays could be an option if people wanted to, and I don't know how much people do they really feel that we aren't meeting our mandate by not.
There's just some discussion internally about transparency.
Well, and
availability
again, by the
for
way,
people to access.
I think that, similar to what we did tonight, I think when we're hitting scenarios and whatever, then we could make a request of the parties about televising and Zoom and other kinds of things and kind of meet that as it goes. Do we? I haven't, again, off the record, I haven't, heard many buzzes about us not being transparent over the last 40-some years. That was never a.
Well, Don brought it up, so.
I'll comment.
So I'm assuming that there's a reason why it was brought up, and I'm assuming there's a reason that you'd probably want to entertain that we in fact do change our time so that it can be Zoomed and televised. Or
Well, it was actually suggested to me, or it was actually communicated to me internally, that we are the only regulatory department that doesn't do it, and it would be good if we did do it. certainly a vote on all of you on what you feel is right
Yeah.
for the health department. I mean, we're out there a lot. People know kind of what we
Yeah.
do in the department. We're trying to get more visible as a department and what we execute every day. I don't, that's,
You know, it sounds like I might be doing the right thing, and you never can go wrong by doing the right thing, you know, to quote Ted Lasso, by the way.
yeah, I
You
mean,
know, if we're the only ones, I don't want there to be a perception that there's something that we're hiding or whatever the term is, or that we're not accessible or something like that. I think that probably we may encounter some people who have disabilities who may want to be able to use that Zoom or televised thing. You know, I mean,
right, where it stays on Chelmsford Telemedia, where some people watch it, it's also on the YouTube thing where
Yeah.
it's available through there. So you can view yourself again tonight when you go home.
Oh, no, I'm thinking about like, ex-girlfriends from 30 years ago.
Oh, there he is. No.
Google Eric at like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Well, as I said, we'll definitely bring it up again next meeting and see what,
Okay.
see what scheduling and other kinds of things.
Okay.
Do.
I will say one thing is that if we made it first Tuesdays, that, all the Monday holidays like this
Yeah.
month, that it gets bumped,
Mhm.
not this month, but next month.
Next month, yes.
Yeah.
That would take care of that.
Yeah.
So,
But who else meets on Tuesdays?
On Tuesday nights, I actually did bring it up, I think it's conservation is only one Tuesday.
Okay.
I wrote down the
they
availability
here?
and which ones. I think
are they here and are they televised?
planning does every other Wednesday. They do use this room because they're all televised.
Yeah.
So planning, conservation, all of,
That's why Wednesday's first and third, because they do second and fourth probably.
correct.
Okay.
And
So,
then Tuesdays, it's just the second is conservation, the second Tuesday of the month, I believe is the conservation. And Thursdays might have been
and
Board of
I'm
Appeals.
eventually going to be taking off the fourth week of the spring and the fall months. So.
All right. Well, as I said, we'll definitely bring it up, and everybody can look at their
Look at
calendars.
your schedules and see what you can do.
see
And
what's possible and what's not possible, kind of thing.
I can send you an email tomorrow with the actual availability that I just spoke of.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you can take a look at your schedules. That'd
The
be
first or
great.
second Tuesday of the month would, at least at first glance, make best sense.
Okay.
To me.
Okay. All right. So, motion on new business.
Motion to accept new business.
Second.
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So those are done, and it's just the
The next one.
newsletter.
I don't have. Oh, okay. Hold on. So next one is the newsletter. We're obviously creating one every month now. So instead of putting all the flyers in, we'll put in each month's newsletter.
Okay.
Kind of go through it for the public. We have sober karaoke every second Friday of the month from 7 to 10. It's at the Chelmsford Center for the Arts. It's free admission. Snacks and mocktails available for purchase. Growing positivity between our youth and seniors will be on August 20th from 5 to 6:30 p.m. Here in the Chelmsford Town Hall Gym. It's a free event where the youth can decorate a plant pot and attach a positive quote. Plants will later be delivered to the senior center. This is the third time we'll be doing this, and it's fantastic. The kids love doing it, and the seniors love receiving them at the senior center. We have our annual candlelight vigil for overdose awareness. This year, we're actually doing it on the International Day, so it is going to be on their website. It's on August 31st. Signing of the names will be at 6:30. Chelmsford Center Town Common is where we're having that event. Depression and Anxiety Support Group is an ongoing support group. August 27th is the next one from 6:30 to 8. The Chelmsford Center for the Arts. It's for anyone over 18 years old. Snacks and safe spaces provided. Walking group is every second and fourth Tuesday from 9 to 9:30. Starts here at the 110 ball fields. Care Solis, we've engaged with them again this year and just signed a new contract. They not only do mental health now, they also do housing services and assistance and food services and assistance. Our next residential medical shops disposal is going to be September 9th from 9 to 4, right here at the Chelmsford Health Department. Save a Life with Opioid Overdose Response Training will be August 6th. It's to learn how to recognize and respond to an overdose. And we're also creating it for kids that are going back to college to come in and learn how to do that. Everybody walks away with a Narcan kit. Blood pressure screening is the first Thursday of every month from 9 to 12 here at the Health Department, and the last Thursday of the month, 8:30 to 10:30 at the Chelmsford Senior Center, and no registrations required.
Okay.
Then we have our third annual Fall Festival coming up, September 28th on a Saturday from 11 to 4. It was a great, huge turnout last year. We added another hour to it. We got some great things happening, lots of food trucks, free princess performance, free petting zoo, bounce house, touch a truck, free face painting, balloon artists. It's all, we try to get everything free. We designed it initially for the COVID, getting everybody back together and out and about, and the families getting united. And it was such a success that we continue to do it.
Okay.
Sounds good. So what exactly is respond to calls and emails regarding questions or concerns on various public health issues and regulations?
Where are you? You looking at mine?
I'm on the back page of yours and probably the fourth one down.
So
it's the most
broad thing.
Everything always has dealt with the mice, and you're like, wait, the mice where? And this one's like, I did stuff.
There's so much going on that every day, trying to write each one down. I used to tease Sue, saying, Sue, yours is so short, mine's so long. She's like, just wait. You're going to realize you're not going to be able to write everything down. So that's what happened with that statement.
There's a book in pediatrics. It's like your guide to everything. Okay, it's called people refer to it as the Pediatric Bible. And it doesn't matter what you need to know, EKGs, dosages, anything, it's in this book. And if you go to the back, you can look up serum porcelain values, and it tells you what page to find it. And the reason is there's no porcelain in your blood, but it's just the joke that this is everything and the kitchen sink.
There you go.
And
Next month, I'm going to write everything in the kitchen sink.
there it is.
Yes.
There it is. Okay.
Donna, you have under sanitation and complaints, discussions 215 Chelmsford Street deadline, permits pulled, 7:15. What does that mean?
So that was, that's kind of been ongoing. At 215 Chelmsford Street, the building department had deemed it not structurally safe.
Right.
And they had a certain timeline they had to meet, which was July 15th to pull permits, or they were all going to have to evacuate, and the building would be tagged. They did pull their permits in time.
Oh, they did, okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
okay.
hopefully has started or is starting soon. So as I probably didn't state, what each of the board members are looking at is the monthly reports from each employee from the health department.
What happened to Andiamo?
Oh, they decided not to reopen. They closed for 1 week in the summer, and they chose not to reopen to stay with their other facilities. They said it was a tough decision to make, but
Because we just
it
went
was the
there
right
for
financial decision
Sue's-
for them.
Sue's party.
We did just have their retirement parties
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
and we didn't know that at the time that they were going to be closing.
I think they kept it tight to their chest. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Yeah, there was a strange thing. Someone says,
Well, the other thing is in that plaza is that Nobo sold.
Yeah, new owner.
Yeah, they
Novo.
had become new owners too, yeah.
Rick Steiner up in Rum Hill. There was initially something on says, oh, permanently closed. And then all of a sudden, the next day, it was like, yeah, and here are our hours. And I was like, the heck is... But again, on social
Now,
media,
there was,
you
there
never
was
know.
a water main break up
Yes,
there.
that's why.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, and they all had to close. I don't know why it said permanently, but
Yeah,
they
from
all
Jo-
had to close until the
Joni's
water
to the-
main break was fixed.
Oh, okay.
It reopened around
So the
noon or
inspectors
so.
actually have to go reopen every
No,
single
I know.
one of those when
yeah,
that happens.
yeah, but it said permanently closed. I'm going, what? Okay.
A little dramatic, maybe.
Yeah. Well, as I said, social media, you just never know what you're going to read, and then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, they're open. I said, oh, okay. All right.
So Mark refers to himself in the third person. 41 Hall Road, Mark and Charlene went out to 1 Kate Lane.
Donna, can I make a request?
Yes.
I didn't get my Captain Marvel decoder ring in the mail yet. So whenever time anyone uses an acronym, could they define it first, please? 'Cause
Yes.
I have no idea what MC means or other things. I would understand these better if they didn't
Yes.
use acronyms so freely. Or at least define it first, the first time.
Yep.
And I can play the home game from that point.
No, good point. We should do that. We kind of
Okay.
just get used to what we're,
What, burial permits?
oh, we actually do issue every burial permit. That comes through. It comes through the health department first.
Yeah.
We have to approve it, go through it as the burial agent for the town.
Mhm.
And then it processes over to the clerk's department.
Where's crispy, crunchy chicken?
I knew somebody was going to ask that. New World Gas on Littleton Road.
Okay.
Inside there, they used to have a Subway and a Dunkin's.
Yeah, yeah,
The Subway had closed.
Oh,
So now
okay.
they're putting in the crispy, crunchy chicken.
So at some point,
There won't be any seats because they don't have the capacity for seats,
No,
but
I
it
was
will
gonna
be a
say.
did you know
takeout.
Chelmsford, when there was Chicken Corner, like in the middle of town?
No.
Like 9 roads come together, and there's no signage, you just like took
We
your
talked
life in
about that
hand?
just yesterday, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that was called Chicken Corner. The new Chicken Corner, I think that Rich was joking, is now up by like where Boston Market and
Right, yeah, 'cause of all the-
Dave's,
because
Dave's
of all the chicken
and
places.
Popeye
It's a mess,
Chicken,
yeah.
like chicken and chicken. I was wondering, did Crispy Crunchy Chicken open up next
Open
door?
up there to them? No. Somewhere different. That's good.
Yeah, that intersection there's a mess too.
Yeah. Okay.
They are widening and or paving Drum Hill, so my neighborhood is truly a mess.
Yeah.
I have no further questions on staff reports.
I'm actually always amazed when I read down here, it's like all my neighbors. 10 Needham Street.
Yeah.
Do you know how Needham Street got its name?
How Needham Street got its name?
Yeah.
No, I didn't hear that
Old
one.
man Needham that ran the dump.
Oh, could have been, sure.
That was his house. Is there. That's at least
Oh,
what
was that
Bill
what it
told
is?
me.
Okay.
That's what Bill told me.
Wow.
Bill knows where everything's buried in town.
Buried, yes.
Yeah, he has
Yeah,
suggested
buried.
that I not mention Chelmsford Village and what's underneath there.
Yeah.
I live there, I want to know.
All right. Throw.
Okay, motion to accept.
Okay.
Other?
Okay. Second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right.
When do we meet next?
So it would normally be September 2nd, which is the holiday.
Yep.
Do you want to go to the next Monday, which would be September 9th?
That's what I would assume.
Yeah, I would assume so, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Be crazy to try to push it. A lot of different things popping up. So here's a thank you card from Sue.
This is from Sue?
Yeah.
Somebody's hitting the microphone.
Oh, I'm like, what was that? Sounded like a cake bumper from you.
Well, when you hit
So she has not taken her trip yet.
paper,
No, not yet. No. Like, it sounds like it's gonna be next
are we gonna be
fall,
out
something
here?
like that. I don't know. I mean, she's got so many things on her plate that. All right. So.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Seconded?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. We're adjourned.
Okay, got moved.